We got about 9 seconds. Oh. 3, 2, 1, go. And code.
Hello, and welcome to the weekly wrap with the USA Liberalists. Today, we are here with your hosts, Cody and Jordan, and we have a special guest, Isaiah.
Woo.
How you doing today, y'all? How y'all feeling?
What's up, man?
Pretty good.
Chilling.
Oh, let me go ahead and get Isaiah that the link so he can...
Yes, I can share it.
Yeah. Say,
Yeah, and today we're going to be talking about, we just got informed by Isaiah about some breaking news in Virginia about a shooting there, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Our hearts go out, of course, to the victims' families and everything. But we're also going to talk about Mueller and what he said about impeaching Trump or not impeaching Trump, whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this crowdfund for the border wall, which I thought was interesting because I saw it
behind the screen. There we go.
I saw it when they first started crowdfunding for it, and I was like, I don't know if they're ever actually going to build it, but they followed through, man. They did. And then we're also going to talk about the Nevada governors stopping the Nevada House, I believe, passing the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, and go into some details about that.
It was the governor that shot it down, I think.
Yeah, he vetoed it.
Which basically, I mean, in most cases, that basically kills a bill. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it works in Nevada, if they can override his veto or not.
Not sure.
Maybe. We will see.
Would seem to make the whole veto thing pointless if they could, but...
Well, I mean, if you like, they can override the president's veto at the federal level if they get, what is it, like 3/4 of Congress to
yeah. All I'm
vote
saying
for
is
it
like
again?
Getting like 3/4 of any legislature to do anything is not
Well,
easy.
yeah, getting that many people to all
Right.
agree on something is hard.
Getting half of them to agree on something is difficult. 75% is damn near impossible most of the time. But regardless, now that we're done talking about how legislatures work,
Right. Well, let's start with the Mueller thing, or do you guys want to start with the breaking news?
you guys
We can
want
start with Mueller.
you want to start with Mueller? Okay, then
Yeah.
I will move over there. Mueller says charging Trump wasn't an option. Won't comment beyond his report. All right. But it did go far enough to say, sort of like wink and nod, by the way, guys, impeachment, totally something y'all could do. I can't say it. Well, I'm not allowed to say it. Just ask the guy behind me. We're not allowed to say it, right? We're not allowed to say it. By the way, impeachment? Impeachment now?
What, impeachment?
Yeah, exactly.
Why you not allowed to say impeachment?
What's up?
Why you not allowed to say impeachment? Do you think?
Oh, because I think he's not... I think basically by DOJ guidelines, it's more of like a legal protection thing where it's like,
Okay.
unless he has something that he wants to go forward with an indictment on, and like actually take him to court and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he's done something or not done something, he can't make accusations. He can't say he did this, didn't do that. He can't make a lot of statements of fact other than this happened, then this happened. Like it has to be very by the book facts.
Oh yeah, I thought you was talking about yourself, but no, you talk about Mueller. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess Mueller. I guess he's not allowed to say that. I guess he punted that to the
Right.
attorney general, so he can actually do it. But I think a lot of people is getting confused about the situation. I don't know. Do y'all guys think that Trump should be impeached?
I mean,
for the Mueller report.
I personally don't. Like,
Oh wow.
I mean, feel free to disagree with me. I mean, that's
this
part of the
is,
reason why we have guests, right?
Yeah, right. This is interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, just to put it out there, like the reason I don't think, because the whole point of the Mueller investigation, right, when it first started, was originally we're looking into Russian collusion with the possibility of going after him legally on charges of conspiracy. And like as a side thing, it was supposed to be, the side thing is we're looking into obstruction of justice in relation to conspiracy, right? or Russian collusion, as most people would understand it. When it came to the whole collusion thing, it's like, yeah, okay, you didn't exonerate him, but you couldn't find any evidence worth talking about, because plenty of people have read the report, right, at this point. There's not a whole lot there to say one way or another. Like, lack of evidence after a 2-year investigation with a highly specialized team kind of tells me there's not a whole lot to see, especially one as motivated as Mueller's team. Now, he did find stuff as possible,
but
like,
I think. Go ahead. Alex.
Yeah, just finish real quick. He did find some things as like possible options. When Trump's out of office, they can go after him on like obstruction of justice. But then I know obstruction of justice is like an intent-based crime, not a matter-of-fact crime. But it's more of like, okay, but if there's no justice to obstruct, why would he want to? Why would he have the intent to obstruct the justice? It doesn't follow.
Yeah. Okay. Now I see what I understand what you're saying about the obstruction of justice and the actual information that's in the Mueller report.
Sure.
It's not to what they actually was saying the Mueller report was about at first. Right. I totally agree with that. And how the investigation started, with Christopher Steele and, him being paid by the Clinton campaign, and then but we got to remember, Obama in 2014 was investigating Russian activity in the United States.
Sure.
And our fear was Russia was going to have something to do with the election like they had it in Ukraine. So my question to people that said that the report has nothing to do with the original report, you're right, but it still showed that the president was around people that was up to no good.
If I recall correctly, there was actually evidence that Russians did do some meddling. If I recall correctly, there was actually evidence.
Did y'all read the report?
I've read pieces. I have not read the whole thing. It's 400
I've read
pages.
I've read the first 20 pages.
Yeah, I've read a cut down version, a very cut down version, because even the cut down versions are still 100 pages.
Yes.
So yeah, there does appear to be at least some evidence that there was some Russian meddling going on. But I mean, honestly, if there wasn't Russian meddling going on, I would almost be disappointed in them.
I'd be worried that they weren't looking hard enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I really feel like if we started looking into all of these countries and be like, is China meddling in our elections? Probably. How about Britain? Probably. How about India? Most likely.
I mean, people watch the BBC, and that's Britain's government.
Well, I mean more directly.
Is that interfering?
I mean more directly.
Yeah. Well, Russia was more.
But I don't think that we have any evidence that Russia literally was hacking into voting booths and directly changing votes. It was
yes, Russia was hacking into the actual servers for the actual units.
The DNC,
not the actual DNC email. Russia hacked that too, but
that was. I mean, honestly, I feel like the Russians in that particular case were doing better journalism than our own goddamn journalists. But still, they shouldn't be hacking into DNC servers or politician servers. Fair enough.
And my thing with that is how much Russia did hack, and how much Russia did hack. I mean, they ran campaigns on Facebook that supported Black Lives Matter. They ran campaigns on Facebook that supported KKK movements, that supported so.
Well, the whole point is it's accelerationism. The whole the point of those campaigns isn't to support Trump or support Clinton or support Black Lives Matter or the KKK. It's to have us fighting.
Yes, that's exactly what it's for. Yes,
disruption.
I agree. Yes, to rip our country apart. Yeah. Exactly what it did in the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So I believe that Trump, when he had information that Russia, and I know that this is just this don't have nothing to do with Republicans being stupid or Democrats being stupid. This is have a different opinion. If you don't agree with that, then I get it. Like, you know what I mean? That's why I tell a lot of people, I get it. But yeah, what I find an issue is that 100% Trump campaign knew that Russia wanted him to win. I think he should have immediately went to the law after that. I mean, because I forgot the president that somebody wanted him to win it, and he went to the law and said, "Hey man, they hacking my stuff." I forgot John Kerry. Yeah, they was hacking John Kerry. He actually went to the law and said, "Yo, they was hacking me."
Well, but to be totally fair, when it comes to that sort of situation where you're saying that, I mean, and I actually agree with you, that the Russians did want Trump to win. They probably did, but I think that has a lot more to do with Trump. I want to work with Russia, whereas Hillary Clinton over here is saying things like, "So about that Cold War."
Yeah, I don't like Hillary Clinton.
I don't know anybody that's really a fan of Hillary Clinton.
I've found them on the internet, but then again, I've found like Sonic fanboys with
They're
feet
probably
fetishes on
just
the internet. So
trolling you. Well, yeah, you can find anything on. The
yeah,
internet.
like I don't care what stupid opinion you're talking about. If you're on the internet, there's enough people out there. Someone agrees with it.
Yeah, I 100%. It's you're gonna always. That's what I say about this new generation. Before, I don't know how old you guys is, but
27.
I used to have to. How old?
I'm 47.
I'm 31.
34 on Sunday.
Old
Oh
man.
wow.
He gets to be the old one here. Old.
Yeah, I'm super old.
So
That's why I'm more conservative, because I'm old.
Yeah, you know what?
All right, Grandpa.
I got a buddy. He said,
All
my
right,
grandpa.
sorry, what's up?
I got a buddy that tells me that every day. He said, "Isaiah, when you get older, you're gonna be a conservative. I promise you that."
I don't think I will be. I think it's more like you move, like you do
Some
move to
people
the right.
do, but...
Well, I think it's more that you do move to the right because you moderate as you get older. But I don't think it's that just because you turn old, you necessarily turn conservative. It's just that most people start in the middle. So if you move to the right from the middle, guess where you are?
Yeah.
Conservative.
Yeah.
Conservative. Yeah. And I believe a lot of people start like that.
Yeah.
I think people get a little more conservative once they have kids. Not like necessarily politically, but maybe just more socially conservative.
I don't know. Have you seen some of these feminists with like 3 kids?
True. I'm not saying it's absolute.
Like they seem to like fucking go off the deep end into the like the wild far reaches of the wilds in the north of leftism. It's fucking amazing.
It's funny how you get people that I never see nobody. I seen a Democrat move to a conservative, but I never seen a conservative move to a Democrat though.
I have.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
I don't know that I've seen it. I do think it's rarer though, because conservatives are more opposed to like change.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like, it's not that they don't like change. It's just that they see more value in the traditions.
I think you see it more with young people.
Philosophically.
I think it has a lot more to do with young people when it comes to like moving between, or especially moving from conservative to liberal, because I think that has a lot more to do with being exposed to new ideas, where they're just like, wow, I had no idea the world could be like this, and suddenly they're like a hardcore communist for about 3 years. So yeah. And then they probably like swing right the fuck back, and yeah, now they're probably somewhere in the middle because they've seen both sides, and they fucking have like the ultimate glasses of knowledge on. Oh my god, I'm so fucking woke. I can see both sides of the aisle.
Well, I don't know why. I'm gonna tell y'all. I'm not a Democrat, I say,
Sure.
but I'm not gonna say that I'm not really. I got so much liberal views. It's crazy because I know this later on in the show, but I want the borders to be open, and I know a lot of people going to destroy me for this, but I'm okay with that.
Nah, dude, I don't know about open. Hold on, like, look, it's one thing to like. Okay, hold on. Like, we can talk about like numbers. Be like, hey, we want this percentage. We want this number of people coming in through these ports. Blah 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 blah. Open?
Well, I think, and I'm not going to start it because everybody's going to destroy me for this. I get it. But you know what? I think America needs an apology tour. And I think that this is the perfect time for them to do it. And I think that when we talk
Can we
about.
send Trump on that apology tour?
he will never.
Please. I want to see Trump go to all these different nations, be like, yeah, I know we fucked with you. By the way, it's your own fault. Where's the oil, bitch?
Yo, that's what, and I've, because you got people in Mexico wearing "I hate you, Donald Trump" masks, and you know, we're so close to Mexico and Central America and South America. Why are we not helping these countries out more than casting them away? And I understand that the reason why they're coming here is because, I don't know if y'all know this. This is a fun fact. Most of our guns in the United States end up in South America.
Yeah.
like we are the
We're
issue.
Spreading freedom to the world.
Yep. We're the arsenal of freedom.
Welcome
man.
to America too, South America.
I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I feel as though that sometimes, man, we hurt a lot of South America and Central America. And
if we're getting into like the gun debate, I'm a little softer than Cody is on this one because I do think there are some reasonable regulations. I think gun registration is fine. I think that illegal guns in general are just, it's very obvious what they're for. Like they're not being used for self-defense if you scrubbed off the serial number. All right.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think people should scrub off the serial number. That I am with you there.
Like, I think there's certain things that, like, there's definitely some regulations that I'm on board with. There's some new regulations that I would be on board with. I don't.
Well, yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of them ending up, because obviously, if they're being smuggled out of the country, they're probably not going to a farmstead to defend a farmer and his family.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Like
I'm not like
I
crazy libertarian about guns, where I think everybody should own tanks. I do see that there is a limit. I just
hold on. There's gun regulations, and then there's no tanks to that idea. I want recreational tanks.
Well, we would all love recreational tanks. It's just, do you want everybody else to have them too?
I mean, if I have a better tank,
but do you have more money than everybody else?
No, but I can steal someone else's tank. They're slow.
Yeah, you get
tank. I don't even want to say.
Dude, are you kidding? I could show up in because I drive, so I just show up and be like, your Uber's here, in a fucking fucking tank. Just,
dude,
rolls through their house.
I would pay extra to Uber in a tank.
It'd be fucking amazing.
I would too.
Dude, you are getting to your destination safe as fuck.
Slow as hell.
That's right.
But safe as fuck.
Yep. A bus hits this thing, no problem.
Just keeps on trucking. You have like women and children screaming for their lives. And we're just and I'm just jamming out to Led Zeppelin in my tank. Be like, we're getting to our destination.
Leave me a good review.
5 stars.
Side note, I love how Donald Trump come out to proud to be. I love that. That's his come out song. I love
his
that
song.
Man.
Yeah, I like
didn't
that
the
song a lot.
Didn't the band that played that tell him to stop doing that?
I thought they did.
Oh, that sucks so hard. Poor Trump. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, honestly, I feel like the main bone of contention that we have with most of the countries south of us, it's really not the people themselves. Like, if it was just Mexican migrants that were coming here and properly registering themselves, because I have some ethical issues with allowing the Mexicans to work for slave wages, but
yeah,
other than that, if it was just them coming, I really wouldn't have too much of an issue. I'd still have some concerns about security and it being used as a way for terrorists to get in. Because if you totally open the borders, ISIS is totally going to look at that and be like, cool, let's do this.
Right.
Because if I was them, that would be my first thought. Because you got to look at the bad guys and put yourself in their place for a second and be like, what would I do in this situation? And I really don't like what they would do. So open borders, I'm not down with. We need some security. But if it was just farmers and work hands, I wouldn't have much of an issue. The problem is it's not. Right now, this is something that, because I live in a very Hispanic area, and this is something that I can talk to nationals from Mexico about the idea that you don't go to northern Mexico, white, black, whatever. Just you don't go to northern Mexico. You fly over northern Mexico to the safe southern Mexico to have fun there if you're going to go explore. Mostly because the cartels will fucking kill you. Like if you try and drive, like if you try and drive through northern Mexico and you don't know someone in the cartels, if you don't have money for the cartels, you need to have like a plan to get through northern Mexico so you don't die. That place is fucking dangerous.
They rule it, but
they do
all
rule
the drugs that they're using is coming to America.
Yep.
So we got to understand as Americans what we're doing wrong. And this is what I get.
Legalize the drugs.
I get like a lot of issues. Like I'm afraid of terrorism.
Sure.
But I'm never going to be afraid that human beings is not going to be able to get some type of relief by coming. And I know that Trump do not work on emotion, and that's why I kind of like him, because it's like, okay, you make a obvious, because let's be real, Obama wanted a border. Obama wanted some type of ticket. Clinton built the wall. He built
the Democrats. The Democrats up until Trump were the ones that were sitting there, build the wall, build that wall, build that wall.
Exactly.
And then Trump gets in and they're like, walls are immoral. Only bad people would ever want a wall.
That's dipshit. I'm sorry. That's crazy Nancy Pelosi.
It's so funny.
I can't stand that lady, man.
Dude, Nancy Pelosi is my favorite.
You like her? Wow.
Oh no, let me qualify that for a second.
Favorite as in entertaining?
Yes, mostly. Because whenever
she gives us a lot of stuff to talk about.
She gives you a lot of insight. Like when you're talking about the into the way that the Democrats are leaning, because Nancy Pelosi really is one of the most influential Democrats in the caucus. She's one of the most influential Democrats in the DNC. She has her finger directly on the pulse of what the Democrats want to do, what they can do, and she's basically their spokesperson. She's kind of like Sarah Sanders. Like the way Sarah Sanders speaks for Trump, Nancy Pelosi is the mouthpiece of the Democrats. So
yeah, she's been in the game for a long time.
Yeah, she knows what to do. She knows why she wants to do things. Like, she's not a stupid lady, but she's definitely team politics, man. I hate team politics, and I make a differentiation there from identity politics to team politics, because I'm talking about like Republicans always being with Republicans, Democrats always being with Democrats, and that is definitely how Nancy Pelosi plays this game.
And that's what I have an issue with. I say this all the time on my show. This is what I have an issue with, because it's not about. This is what Mueller was telling her.
Sure.
And I don't know if y'all get it. When he came out there that day, he was kind of saying, "I gave you all of the information."
Yeah, pretty much.
Already, if you wanted to impeach him, impeach him. But you still trying to play this political game, and I understand we in a political, but if you think that he did something wrong, then impeach him. Obviously, Nancy Pelosi don't believe that he did something wrong, and that's why I have an issue with her at, because
I don't think she doesn't believe Trump did something wrong. I think, again, because I think she's looking at this from like a realpolitik point of view, where it's like it doesn't matter if he actually did something wrong or not. It's more along the lines of how is this?
Can I prove it?
No, it's more along the lines of how is this going to affect us in upcoming elections? How is this going to affect our presidential bids? How is this going to affect like downstream Democrats like trying to overturn Republicans in like contested districts? She's looking at the political map and being like, okay, so our options are impeach or don't impeach. Which one wins us more seats?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right, but that's the wrong game to play with Trump, because he's not a political figure.
That's true. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's the wrong.
Like it's one of the reasons I hate him for it, and I'm kind of tired of it, and I'd really like to see like either Yang, Crenshaw, or Gabbard on the presidential stage.
Yeah, I like Yang.
Yeah, Yang is cool. The farthest left one is the one Isaiah likes. That's not even really a shot at you, because I like Yang too. So yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem with Yang or Gabbard. But I would definitely go Crenshaw personally.
Yeah, no, if it was like if it came down to it and it was like Gabbard versus Crenshaw versus Trump, I'd be so in.
So you wouldn't vote for Trump again now?
I actually never voted for Trump.
Yeah, I didn't. vote for Trump either.
I was one of the, because I was actually a Bernie bro back in 2016, and because
I went with Gary Johnson.
Because remember how last week I was telling you that I was like with the fucking Libertarian National Convention. How does everything go wrong at their fucking conventions? It's like Florida. It's like a mobile
I don't
Florida.
know, man. Like, I didn't watch it and was just like, well, I'm really not a huge fan of Trump, and I'm not really a huge fan of Clinton. So this guy seems like he's got a better shot than anybody else. So I'm gonna try to support him. But
no, but I was like
anywhere.
I was a big Kyle Kalinske viewer at the time, and I still watch him from time to time just to make sure that I'm keeping up with what the progressives are talking about. Just so I sort of have like some balance in my news diet, you know. But I was gonna vote for Bernie, but he got fucked out of the nomination. Way to go, DNC. But I was definitely one of the hold your nose and just do it voters for Hillary.
Yeah, I wasn't voting for Hillary.
I was one of those that was just like, dude, I'm just gonna hold my nose and do it because at the time I really hated Trump and I was like, oh god, he's gonna just destroy everything. And then it was, you know, a few months in when everything the dust was done shaking, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. Like he hasn't nuked anyone yet, so we're doing okay.
And honestly, Trump is doing everything that other people didn't have the balls to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I'm not a fan of Trump, but oh man, I like to sit back and watch this ride. It makes great news. And another thing he does is that look at all the things that he's getting done. It's not having to take executive orders and him going through. He's tweeting about it and then he's doing it. I think that this shows future candidates how you're supposed to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
He is. I mean, look at the unemployment rate. Look at the. And the thing is that you cannot argue nothing that he has. Even the tariffs that he put on China. This is a long time coming. China has been getting over on us.
I love the way he says China. It's fucking terrible.
Over. I mean, like, man, the sky's the limit. The things that they've been doing.
I actually don't like the tariffs, but if he's using it as a bargain, like if it's a long-term thing, I don't like the tariffs. If it's a short-term thing as a negotiation strategy,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of tariffs regularly if they're just like, oh, this is a way to increase revenue. But if it's like to negotiate to get a better trade deal and everything, then sure.
The way Trump talks about tariffs, like it's like he literally thinks it's just money in our pocket, and I'm like, that's not how tariffs work.
No, not quite right. It's like taxes, basically.
Yeah, it's like you're taxing other countries, except it makes everything more expensive for us.
Well, it's just taxes the average citizen.
Yeah. Thanks for the extra 25% tax on all the Chinese shit. Oh wait, that's everything.
And it just cost us $16 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake, I guess we're buying a lot more shit from India, aren't we?
Yeah.
Everybody move to India. We like them more anyway.
It's amazing how we help these guys grow their country, and then they come back and just poop on us. So I get a lot of people saying, I'm happy that somebody's standing up for America. Yeah. I get that. You know what I mean? I understand their arguments. I don't agree, but I understand the arguments, though.
I'm kind of hoping that what the tariff actually does is convince a bunch of companies to look at... Because if this does turn into a long-term thing, I think what will actually happen, instead of them moving to the United States, which is unlikely, they'll just move to India, which already has a bunch of manufacturing anyway, and there's like a built-in workforce. They'll have to pay a little...
They'll just find another country to go to.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, like, India's like the most...
all of them.
True. But India's the most stable source. They might even... assuming we don't fucking tariff our way into the middle of, like, a Cold War with Mexico, which is, like, sort of laughable in its own way, but still. You get what I... Because you guys heard about the tariff threat to Mexico, right? Yeah.
Today.
Fuck's sake. That one makes more sense because it's literally, he put it on the table. It's like, look, tariffs, we negotiate, the tariffs go away. That's how this works. Okay, that is clearly a negotiation strategy. I'm on board.
Yeah, those ones are a little more clearer, kind of what he's trying to get at than the one with China.
His China strategy is just all over the place.
It's all over. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's why I don't agree with it. That's why I think he's a little bit, I don't know. I think he might be sick or crazy or I don't know.
I suspect what he's trying to do when he's dealing with an opponent that, like China, that's comparable, because really they are at this point. Economically, they're comparably strong to the United States, and it's basically two one-legged giants propping each other up, even though China doesn't want to view it that way, because China has a very, I don't know how familiar you are with Chinese culture. They have a very down-the-nose view of everyone. Basically, the only people they'll tolerate is white people. And it's because, you know how, like, Valley girls have those, like, chihuahuas, those teacup dogs they put in handbags?
Yeah.
That's kind of how they view white people.
That exactly how. I got a buddy over there.
Like, and everyone else, don't bring me any fucking Koreans, don't bring any Japanese people, don't bring any black people. They hate those.
Yeah, definitely no Japanese people.
Jesus Christ, the way Africans are treated, and even white Africans, if they see African on your affidavit, I guarantee you go to China, you're getting searched by the secret police there.
Yeah, I have a buddy actually in China right now.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he's learning the language and stuff. It's horrible.
Awesome. And it's horrible. All right.
It's a hard language to learn, man.
Fair enough.
And another thing is that China is trying to make Africa the new China. I don't know if y'all been paying attention to that. China been outsourcing. Yeah, they've been outsourcing all of their work to Africa.
Well, yeah, they're buying up lots of property in Africa and all sorts of.
They actually brought Djibouti, Africa. They actually brought it from the French. The French actually had a 99 lease on it. China brought them out and brought 101 lease, and like basically is tell them, listen, you got this much money to pay back. But I think right now the reason why Trump has to make this deal because China got a lot of things going on in their country. They got the BRI, the Belt Road Initiative. They trying to get open the Silk Road. They connecting more of the countries around them to start trading together. And China don't want to be China to America no more. This is just what I'm hearing that from him. I'm hearing that from a lot of people. China don't want to be China. Like China's saying, listen, America's going to respect us or we don't need America. And this is the game that we got to watch how we play because China really don't need us. We need them more than they need us.
We need each other.
I think they need
long term because the thing is we're like their primary customer. They do need us. Their entire economy is based on the United States and Russia. That is their two major trading partners.
The cash.
We have all the cash, and Russia is good for bulk trading, so they can work with them. Korea is helpful with them, specifically North Korea. As a customer and sort of like a bulwark militarily, it's a strategically useful position for them to prop up North Korea. So they've got other options, but the reality is when it comes to selling massive amounts of consumer goods, like high dollar goods, that's America. That's all America and Europe. Sort of Europe, because I don't think they get nearly as many things from China.
No, but
the reality is the reason. There's two things that go on there. They have a lot of businesses that put themselves in China and have the goods produced by Chinese companies and then ship it over here, so that enriches their economy. And then the money from that goes back to them, which makes them rich. So they get both ends of it. Whereas if we stop trading with China and those businesses just move to India, China's back to being a third world country in about 20 years flat, along with their aging workforce.
Oh, wow. You think that?
Yes. You got to understand what's going on with their population statistics. It's starting to come back, but you think that we have an aging population? China's going to hit a point where it's going to be almost majority old people here in about 40, 50 years.
But China don't really look forward to them doing the actual work, right? They're outsourcing their work that they're doing. So China has been...
They have plenty of sweatshops, too.
Yeah, China has been doing things the wrong way. And you got to remember, American companies go to China to get the sweatshops started so they can actually be cheaper on prices for them to build things. So do you know about the Belt Road Initiative that China is doing out there?
Educate
I
me.
don't.
What's
I
going
have
on?
no idea.
Oh yeah. Well, they started there in 3 different continents.
Okay.
Almost, I think it's close to how many? 27 countries. I think it's 20. I'm not for sure. I'm gonna know the numbers real quick. I forgot how many countries they're in, but they're trying to start an economical shift. Don't ban Russia to trade with each other over there instead of not using the United States. They don't want to use the United States for nothing. So
I agree with you in the long term, but in the short term, like, you got to understand how fragile most of these economies are. Like, if the United States, for instance, had a 15% downturn, which would be much more, which is probably what would happen here if we stopped trading with China. Like, it would not be good. We would go through a major recession, but China would go through a catastrophic recession. Like, we're not talking about 15%, we're talking like 40%. And once it gets past like the 10% mark, that's when the investors start pulling out. That's when people start asking for debt. That's when a lot of things start going wrong. There's a reason that most of these countries are very focused on we don't need like growth, we need nice growth. We need comfortable growth so that we can keep appeasing the investors, we can keep getting new money, new businesses, new everything.
Yes,
right?
Steady growth.
Right. Like this is like a basic rule of investment. If it's not even about whether or not it's growing or shrinking, it's about whether or not it grew enough. Like, I know plenty of investors from college that if they're looking at one of their stocks and over the past year it didn't grow 15%, they're pulling it and putting it somewhere else. Yeah. If it didn't meet expectations, they're just going to pull and be like, fuck this, give me back my money, I'm giving it to someone else. And that's exactly what would happen to China if we pulled out from them. Long term, you're right, they want to stop relying on us because they know what I'm talking about. They understand that if the United States said, fuck China, no more China, their entire country would be devastated.
So they're essentially trying to diversify their portfolio.
They don't want to be. They don't want to be part of the two-legged
something like
giant.
that happens.
Yeah, they don't want to be in a position where they are effectively reliant on us, but they know that if we fucked with them too hard, it would come back to bite us too. It wouldn't be good for either country. It would be less bad for us.
It's a smart move.
Yeah, it'd be less bad for us because we're way too reliant on China. But yes.
I got a question because I think we're gonna just agree to disagree on this guy topic.
Sure, yeah.
No, but we can keep talking about it over. But because I got a question for you.
Sure.
If we cut China off,
okay,
and you said, who do you think? Because I'm not understanding. Who do you think will be the better successors? China right now in 2020, or we're approaching 2020. Who do you think will be the better successor? China or the United States?
Better successor to what?
So like who will have the better future, the brighter future?
America.
Wow. See, I don't believe
because you got to again, China has a huge workforce right
America
now.
Too.
China has a huge workforce right now, but they have their immigration policies are very restrictive. So unlike in America, where we have issues with getting enough people reproducing, we can don't worry, we've got plenty of immigrants that want to come here. China doesn't even want immigrants. Like they tolerate immigrants. They tolerate them sort of.
I think their form of government's too rigid to adapt to large changes.
You can't become a citizen in China unless you're ethnically Chinese.
You're right.
Let's just start there. Even if you're born there, I don't think you're actually a citizen unless one of your parents is Chinese.
You're right. You're definitely right.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, China does not they don't want immigrants. They tolerate immigrants because they're useful. Remember the whole
useful.
Remember the teacup chihuahua analogy in the handbag I was making earlier? Still applies to I don't care how smart you are. You're still that fucking teacup dog. The Chinese do not like you.
I just will be very concerned of, other than the UK, who do we have to trade with?
India.
I think India will roll with China.
I don't. India knows that America is a very useful ally. Militarily, you want to talk about reliant on someone's economy? India is very reliant on the US. We outsource a lot of shit there. They may not produce very many things right now as far as production, except for clothes. They do a lot of our clothes. But there's a whole lot of industries that are almost entirely American that exist inside India. So, not to mention, we stand against Pakistan with them. We are a staunch Indian ally. They're also part of the Commonwealth. So that puts us right in line with Britain, India, Australia, Canada. Don't forget Canada, also a big trading partner. Like, for all the like noises that the Canadians make about Americans, they're so stupid. Like, yeah, but you're also like one of our closest allies. So we may be stupid, but what does that make you?
Hey, we can be stupid, but we got the money, and we can.
We have recreational tanks, Canada. Fuck you. Actually, in Texas, that might sound ridiculous, but seeing as they seem to be on like a just fucking make everything open carry spree. Like, here's a list of things they recently made open carryable in Texas.
I heard about that.
Yeah, there was fucking. It wasn't tanks, unfortunately.
Brass knuckles.
Yeah, brass knuckles, great swords, clubs, and when I say great swords, I mean like literal, like Zweihanda fucking great swords. Real great swords.
Sharp great swords.
Yes, you can walk around open carrying real swords. So I can walk into a fucking Walmart with dual cutlasses ready to fucking duel with whatever motherfucker gets in my way, you know? Yeah, like, they fucking want to open carry everything. I think their only limitation when it comes to Texas Republicans, when it comes to what not to open carry, they're like, alright, so we can all agree recreational nukes, I guess. No, fine. No recreational nukes.
For now.
But, like, pretty much everything else is on the table. So, yeah. I love Texas.
Yeah, Texas sounds cool.
I love this place.
Not like Oregon, where they want to limit you to have 5 rounds.
Dude, if you ever want to have, like, all the fucking Second Amendment rights you can shake a stick at, move to Texas. They got you back, fam. I actually agree with them legalizing brass knuckles. I understand why they don't like it, having it around, but it's such a good self-defense tool. It really is.
Wow, they legalized brass knuckles down there?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, I mean, because I think it came up again because women were using like the kitty keychain that has like the spiked edges on it.
Yeah.
So because they were using it for self-defense, because I mean, not only is it like nice and sharp, so you can give someone a shank, but it's non-lethal. They're also useful for like if someone's got a knife, you can actually catch it. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not suggesting people go into a knife fight with brass knuckles, but like, it's better than your bare fucking hands.
Right.
It's a lot better than that. Yeah, like you're not going to win in a knife fight with some guy that's coming up to stab you, but if you have brass knuckles, maybe you can like block it and then punch him in the face a couple of times. Something. It's good self-defense.
I would suspect like everyone in Texas is carrying.
You'd be surprised, honestly. A lot of cases with Texas, it's most people don't carry, but we're also all pretty sure that someone around us is carrying, so why worry about it?
It's like 1 in 8 people are carrying.
Yeah, exactly. If someone goes fucking
people.
Yeah, if someone goes postal, you know, the one guy in the corner that's looking around shifty at everyone is suddenly going to break out his fucking arsenal of missiles and shotguns. He's going to fucking turn into Dr. Robotnik and just have like thick shit folding out from his back.
Let me ask you, do things like that happen a lot? Like, is it a lot of shootings down there because it's open carry?
No.
So you don't need a gun license down there?
No, you do need a gun license.
Okay.
You do need to be registered. You do need to be in the system. You do need to receive gun training, which you're going to pay for.
You have to get a license to carry a gun in Texas?
Yes, you do.
Wow.
You have to get like an actual open carry license. To own a firearm, you do need to take some classes.
Wow. So you don't have to do that up here?
No?
No, Oregon, you don't have to do that either.
Yeah, like, in Texas, you can, once you've got your registration for everything, you can pretty much buy whatever the fuck you want. But, yeah, I think there's like a couple of regulations where it's like, you need a license, you need training classes, you need to update your training classes every few years to maintain your license, and it's not expensive. It's really not. You go down to a gun range and you pay like $40, and they're like, "Can you hold the gun straight? Do you know not to swing? Do you know not to point the gun at people? Okay, here's your fucking update."
There you go.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, once you've done your training classes, the trainer, it's pretty easy to tell if someone knows what they're doing, right?
To get a concealed carry in Oregon, you have to take a safety course, and then you have to take a concealed carry course and get it signed by the sheriff, I believe, and
I think there's also a 24-hour
department.
I think there's like a no immediate purchase on guns. I think you have to like place a hold on them. Because I think the logic is, if you need a gun right then, you don't need a gun. Like, you need to call the cops. So.
Well, yeah, if you need a gun in like this second, yeah, that's probably a problem.
Right. So there's definitely some like sensible regulations going on in Texas, but basically once you've jumped through all the hoops and hurdles, you can buy as many shotguns and pistols and rifles or whatever the fuck kind of. If it shoots bullets, you can have it.
Sweet.
You're good to go.
Ain't like that up here, man.
No?
Well,
I think it's sensible. Like, I really don't see any problem with it because, I mean, once you jump through, I mean, you're good to go. You've proven that you're a responsible gun owner. Good for you. Go with God. Get as many pistols as you want.
Yeah, you don't need nothing. You just need to go to the courtroom in Montgomery County. Now, in Philadelphia, it takes a little long. But
sure,
if you're out Montgomery County, you just go there with your driver license, apply for a gun permit. You go downstairs, they give you the gun permit, walk out the door, get a gun.
I like how Texas has more gun regulation than fucking Philly.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I'm telling you, that's it.
Nuts,
because I tell people this all the time. I'm like, yo, it depends on where you live, and that's just what it is. Like, because people, they want to cry about gun laws, and I mean, everybody heard this saying before: people don't kill people. I mean, guns don't kill people. People kill people.
I was about to say, people don't kill people?
No.
People just drop dead and the gun just, people just drop dead and the gun just walks up and like places himself in your hand.
Sprinkle some crack.
That's going to some real dark territory right there, Jesus.
Yeah.
Sounds like some Chicago shit. Man, you should talk to some people from Chicago. No, you should go talk to some people from Chicago sometime. They have some crazy stories about the cops out there, and I'm like, God damn, I'm glad I don't live in Chicago.
Yeah.
Philadelphia cops is very out of control.
Yeah. Anyway, we should probably... This is fun. We should probably...
Now that we're way off topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've basically said our piece on the Mueller thing, so we're going to go to a citizens group. We Build the Wall constructs, if I can learn English again, constructs private fence on the southern border. Good for them.
Yep. I saw this.
It's a private border wall. I literally don't care.
Yeah, I saw this crowdfunding thing when they first started it, and they got it up to something like, I think they said they raised $23 million in the story.
You know, if someone wants to buy land on the border and build a wall, it's literally not my business.
Right. This was built on private land, and the owner gave them permission.
Yeah, if they want to do that, like, we're not talking about government dollars. So, in my opinion,
this is just private money, and on private property, they're building a wall.
That's how I feel about it. What do you think, Isaiah?
Wow, they want to build a wall with private money on somebody else's property, and is the person cool with it?
Yeah, they got permission.
Yeah.
Hey, let them build a wall, man.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever makes people happy nowadays, because at this point, they believe what comes out of the news. I don't care what news it is. They believe it. But I believe that a wall is not going to help. Like, come on, man.
I think it is worth considering a few things, because I've heard a few different takes on this, and I understand the thought process of, it's not worth the money. It's not gonna the returns aren't gonna come from this sort of thing. I think the smart way to approach it, because I don't think we need the Great Wall of America. Okay, I don't think that's necessary.
The Great Southern Trump Wall of America.
Yeah, seriously, I swear to God, if this bitch ever finishes that wall, he's naming it Trump Wall. Let's all get that out of the way right now. He's naming it Trump Wall.
Big gold letters. Come on, that's his
style.
And
for fuck's sake, where is the big beautiful door into America I was promised? I don't even give a shit about the wall, because as far as I'm concerned, if there's no wall, everything stays exactly the same and whatever. But I was promised a big beautiful door, and I want a big beautiful golden door with a huge eagle on it. That when you open it, it slowly creaks open to let in all the the huddled masses, and it's like, welcome to America, I'm Trump, bitches.
But if this was great old America, don't you think that we should have the borders open? Shouldn't it be that beautiful?
No.
With those just come on over.
Look, dude, if
I think
honestly, I don't even care because everybody talks about like work visas and overstays. I don't give a shit. If we know who you are and we know that you're not coming from like some IS camp, I'm cool with you. Seriously. So work visas, you want to overstay? Like, I'm not thrilled about it, but we know who you are. Okay, I'm not gonna cry. Like,
well, I think when like America was founded and was growing, that open borders wasn't so much of an issue because
seriously,
but like
big ocean
with the advancements in technology, with the internet and everything, I don't see how you could maintain a stable society with open borders.
Well, that, and if we're going to keep talking about welfare programs and expanding things, and because Yang is talking about taking UBI because we don't
even have open borders now, and look at how crazy Russia has made things.
Well, because honestly, one of the reasons I actually like UBI is because it's very hard to exploit the loopholes there, whereas with welfare, seriously, there are people that make it their job to know all of the ins and outs of welfare programs and all that shit, and they know every single detail of it and can get so much money out of it and just keep cycling it around and around and around and get so much shit out of it.
That's the problem with like big one-size-fits-all like programs.
Well, again, that's one reason why I'm kind of liking the UBI idea. I think it solves a lot of these things. We can cut down on bureaucracy. We can fire a whole shitload of government workers, which would be fucking excellent. And I know people don't like to hear that, but seriously, the government's too goddamn big. It's like what 40? It's like 35% of the overall workforce is just government jobs. What the fuck is that?
Dang.
Yeah, seriously, it's huge. What the fuck? No, stop.
Wow.
Stop. We need these people need to be in the real workforce, not in these fucking cushioned jobs where they can't ever get fired. It's fucking ridiculous.
I don't think that we really have enough jobs for people, and this is just honestly. I don't care about Trump lowering the workforce, because that's conversation, and those numbers is totally different from the wealth gap.
Sure.
And I just don't believe that, we have enough jobs to give people the incentives of really working. So
I think it depends on what you mean. I think it really depends on what you mean, because right now, and this is actually an Australian statistic, but I suspect if I went and looked, it would be very similar here, that the average age over in Australia, just for instance, of an electrician is 57. That's pretty shocking when you realize that like an average electrician that goes through like 5 years of training to become a journeyman can make like $60K a year by the time they're 23. There are so many people that aren't going into these trade jobs that will pay you to work them.
Yeah.
That will give you skills and workforce and like options and connections and all these things, and nobody's going after them because it's not being subsidized. So I really think this is less to do with there's not enough jobs, because right now this really is a fucking the workers' market. If you have a skill in the way the economy is going right now, if you have a skill to trade, like a trade skill, like electrician, plumber, whatever, you're valuable. You've got all the work you can handle, but people don't have skills. Like, that's the problem. We need job training programs. We need to incentivize that.
They took like shop and woodworking out of schools, so nobody.
Dude, shop was like my favorite class in school. That shit was great. I loved woodshop.
Yeah. Real quick, can we go back to what you said about the working? So let me get what you said. Do you believe that what you say about electricians or whatever? I don't really know the statistics to that. But
I don't know the American ones, but this is something that keeps coming up in all, like, because I follow lots of different groups, and it keeps coming up in Australian groups. It's like, guys, if you want a job that pays well, stop talking about college because that's oversaturated. Go be an electrician. Seriously, valuable.
Well, yeah. Plus, you get saddled with all the debt.
Right, like people are making like $60,000 a year working as an electrician with no debt. They will pay your way through the training by because they'll give you a salary that's comparable to like pretty much any job you could get working anywhere else.
Well, the problem I have is that someone with so much debt, like my wife has a lot of student loan debt,
Sure.
and it just essentially like steals a good chunk of your future away from you.
Yeah, it's like,
10,
20 years of bullshit, and then finally you
Right.
actually make real money. Yay!
If I didn't own my house before I'd met my wife, there would be no way we could afford to buy a home
Fair enough.
just with all the debt.
But yeah, my only real point when it comes to the labor market is we need to get people to like start focusing on trade skills. We need to get back into the blue collar work. That's a sustainable work. That's the work that can't be automated. Because most of these college jobs people are talking about, very, very automatable. Accounting is completely automatable. You don't actually need accountants anymore. Right now, most of the things accountants do, I could build a program in like a month that could solve most of it without needing anyone to touch it.
Well, they just check. They run these programs and then they just check it.
Yeah, basically
Maybe.
that's accountants right now are basically AI babysitters. How long do you think they actually are going to need the babysitters for?
Well, and
it's a dead end career. It seriously is.
People
Trucking,
that
dead-end
prepare
career.
taxes with like things like TurboTax and stuff like that. A lot of those jobs are going away.
Well, what they're doing now with that particular job is a lot of CPAs actually go to work for TurboTax because you can buy like a premium. Because this is something I actually did with TurboTax self-employed last year. You can buy a premium to have a CPA look over your taxes and make sure that everything makes sense, that you've got all your tax deductions, and that like you know what's going on. So they've basically built the tax experts back in, but online. So yeah, not too bad.
Yeah. Real quick though, I want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
I believe that it's where you live. So I believe you could be an electrician, right?
Sure.
And electricians might not be a big because I have a lot of friends that is electricians, is certified electricians, but still can't find a job.
They might have to move.
Exactly.
Like
So
I know it's a shitty thing to
this
say,
is
and it's
the
not that
exact-
easy, but yeah.
No, exactly. No, I was agreeing with you. You're right. You got to move. But this has just showed that if everybody had to move to pick a certain, it's not enough jobs. And we could just do this statistically and by smarts, it's not enough jobs out here. Even if everybody. Go ahead.
I think people looking into this, like if you really want to make your money, right? If you really want to maximize your investment, going into any sort of job skill, any sort of training or college, you should really be expecting that you're probably going to need to move. If you're looking for the opportunities, you're probably going to need to move at least once. Like I would say to anyone looking for a job out there, get your training, expect that you're probably going to need to move to find a proper market. I just happen to be in a good one because of where I live. It's a growing city, so that's great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But expect to move, and don't buy a house until you're like 30 and you've actually found your place. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
That depends on what kind
You
of
can buy a
background
house
you have.
early.
I'm sorry?
He said it depends on what kind of background you have.
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was because if you coming from a background where as though you're poor as a kid, first of all, it's hard to go to that tech school. And then after you go to the tech school, you think you're going to have money to move without finding a job?
It depends on what we're talking about. Because I know, like, for instance,
Exactly.
the reason I specifically bring up electrician, and this is not the only type of things that does that, the Electrician's Brotherhood, if they take you on as an apprentice, will actually pay you for your training. Like, they will pay you as you go through your training, because you're going to be working with one of their licensed electricians who will train you as an apprentice until you become journeyman. And, like, until you get to master, they basically just, like, shave off part of the money that goes into your work and say, okay, so this is your section, this is our section. They, like, take a cut of it and give you the rest as your training pay. So you're still working, like, a $30,000 a year job as your training. It's really not a bad system. These apprenticeship programs are really good. For most of the really profitable blue collar skills nowadays, you shouldn't be paying for. Do not pay for them. Seriously.
Right. It's probably a scam if you have to pay for it.
Yeah, most of these blue collar jobs, if they're serious, they will pay you.
Oh, I don't understand. Don't pay for what? The schooling?
No, don't pay for any of it. Like, no,
Yeah,
like most of these, like the Brotherhood jobs, most of like the big union jobs, the blue collar union jobs, so like the self-employed unions, will pay you for their training because they want you in there. They will pay you.
Yeah, they want people so bad that they
will literally pay you to train.
That's not going on down here. This is not happening. And if I move, I can't put the trust in that happening. I understand what you're saying though, but
don't get me wrong. I think that and I think Cody would actually probably disagree with me here, but I would like to see the government. This is one area where I think the government actually could be useful. Set up hold on. Set up something. Just let me say it before you start disagreeing. But basically, like some sort of jobs program where it's like people can actually post for things like job training, right? Like these things, so that people can actually see these people are hiring. Here's the numbers. Here's who I contact. Like just sort of like streamline the process, so people that are in areas where it's like, yeah, okay, maybe not. There's not anything going on. They can look and see in one consolidated place where it's just you go.
I would agree that would be a very useful thing, but I'm not so sure the government would do it the best way.
Well, I mean, I agree with you.
But I get your concept. I agree with.
They wouldn't be efficient. They wouldn't be efficient. We're still talking about the government. But I'm trying to imagine why anyone else would do it, because there's really not any way to profit off of that. So it would either be a non-profit, and that, let's be honest, most non-profits are basically money funneling scams. It's just true. Most of them really are. Not calling out any names because I don't feel like I'm sued, but
some of the bigger ones are, but a lot of the smaller ones.
I think you're right. Okay, maybe that's more fair. A lot of the smaller ones are probably
my wife runs a nonprofit, and I'm telling you now, like
it's not. No, that's fair.
Funnel that much money.
That's fair. So maybe some of the smaller ones are doing fine. Maybe most of them, but a lot of the big ones that get really big, it comes to a point where people like the money that's coming in, and it doesn't get used the right ways. Put it that way.
Yeah, it gets corrupt. Basically.
Yeah, so I'm trying to imagine. So a corporation probably wouldn't do it because where's the profit? A non-profit would probably just get bloated and fat over time, and it wouldn't end up turning out well. At least the government can maintain it, even if it's sort of shitty.
Why we can't make like actually companies? How much Trump gave tax cuts? Why we can't make companies do the training themselves, like Amazon and McDonald's, and y'all do training for tech jobs yourself to help because
I think they're naturally moving in that way.
Some of them do, yeah. Like I know
Amazon is starting to move there.
I worked for a company that built kitchen and bathroom cabinets, and I know that for some of their management people, if they went to college, depending on how good of a grade they got in the class, they would pay for it. So like if they got an A in the class, they'd pay for the whole thing. All you had to do was buy books, essentially. And if you got like a B, they would knock 1% off and you had to pay for it. So.
Well, I know tech specifically is moving this way because there's a lot of tech companies that are getting really tired of kids coming out of college being like, I've got this great tech degree, and they're fucking useless. So I think there's a lot of companies that are putting much more focus on performance versus... Like, they want to see your portfolio. They want to see what you've done, right? They want to see that you're actually useful for something, not that you've got a degree. Now, this often means that you've got to do some self-training, which is actually what I'm doing right now. That's part of what I'm doing is I'm actually learning something called ethical hacking. For anyone listening, you might recognize it as white hat hacking, right? The idea being someone, like a security team that I'd probably be part of, builds a security system, and then the white hats go at it, right? They try and break it any way they can. By hook or by crook, you try and break down the defenses and get in. And if you can't, great. It's a good system for the 20 seconds it takes for a fucking hacking group to go after it and kill it. But, yeah, that's the basic idea. And I find that more valuable than a degree in computer science, because I'm actually learning direct skills that lead to a job. As opposed to, hey, you want to talk about the components of a computer for 20 years? That's going to be real. It's going to be real useful in your computer security. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna come up again. Thanks for charging me $1 million for this bullshit.
Well, yeah, they basically test out the security system.
They're security testers. That's effectively what they are.
Yeah, I think if we don't move on to a new way of making money, man, all our jobs is going to be replaced by computers. Even fixing computers is going to be replaced by computers, man.
Yeah, the
And I
tech
tell
guys are
everybody-
really fucked. The tech guys are really fucked when someone like develops a computer that can fix other computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be screwed.
Well, I think what's actually going to happen is what I've been predicting for a long time, because I think that I think people are right that if things stay as they are, which I don't think they will, but if things stay as they are, we're just going to become obsolete. We're going to be unnecessary in the process of production and advancement. We're going to become superfluous, effectively, with robot servants. Or that's one way to go, where we basically go out in extinction in a fucking horrible mouse utopia bullshit way. Or we integrate and effectively for the next few generations slowly move into cybernetics, which would be really cool because I'm very much okay with the idea of being a cyborg.
Well, yeah, that's what Elon Musk was talking about, taking a pill to enhance ourselves.
Well, I'm not talking about pills because I don't think it's going to be that advanced at first. I think we're going to have to settle for cybernetics, cybernetic limbs, cybernetic eyes, ears, nose, that sort of thing.
Like
enhancers.
a Terminator scenario.
Yeah, well, enhancers. Yeah, something that basically enhances what you are to compete with the computers. And then over time, it's going to slowly meld in. Because right now, we're experimenting with gene editing. We're experimenting with designer babies. Well, we're not directly as far as we know. We probably are, but, as far as we know. China definitely is.
China is bad, but
I think what they did over there in 20 years, once they start openly doing it, because if they slapped this guy in the wrist, but I honestly think that was them sort of opening the floodgates and being like, well, I mean, this turned out well, so why not do a little more? And it's going to go from basically him slapping their genes with a hammer to us having gene editing software, where the difference between I honestly believe at some point the difference between our genes and literal computer code is going to be indistinguishable. I think there will come a point where people are going to be literally reprogrammable when we get too integrated. And
I hope not.
I think the difference between human and AI.
I'll be dead by.
I think the difference between human and AI at some point, assuming we don't go down the mouse utopia route, is going to become meaningless. Effectively, I don't think there's going to be a distinction once this is all done.
Yeah, but the question is, how rapidly is that going to happen?
I think it would take a while. I think the cybernetics is going to be quick. I think integration into literal AI is going to take a while. But then again, part of that process is just literal processing power. And if we have computers actively designing better computers, it might expand to a point where we're just like, dude, what the fuck is happening? So
well, yeah, there's a lot of constraints we have to overcome. One of which would probably be energy. We would need to come up with another way. We probably have to go more nuclear energy just to meet the energy needs if everybody on the planet has some sort of robotics.
Well, maybe. Although, again, if we're talking about melding with machines, it'll probably be somehow fueled by our own. Because we have ways of producing energy for humans. I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't use, because we produce electricity in our brains. It's entirely possible we can use the same mechanisms to produce sufficient energy levels for something along those lines. And this is all completely hypothetical. It's entirely possible. I'm totally full of shit.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I don't know. I think it was after the Matrix came out and that they were showing humans as batteries, and I heard somebody saying something like, well, a human is essentially a terrible battery. They don't have that much charge.
It's true.
So I don't know if they'd be able to power something with their own. I have no idea.
I think if we're talking about integration, it's worth noting that the level of technology we have now, by the time we're there, is going to be much higher.
Right. Yeah.
So again,
there's just a lot to overcome.
Well, sure, but again, if we're talking about literal gene editing, I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't up the charge. There are animals that have literal electrical charges and can produce electrical fields. I don't see why we couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of options out there. Yeah. That once we start talking about designing a human and making it whatever the fuck you want, that pretty much means it can do whatever we want it to do.
Wow.
That's
Let me
crazy.
ask y'all something.
It's a little scary when you think of it that way, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is kind of like how we was started, right? I guess that's just another conversation for another show, but it is like, I don't know. Sometimes I really think that we're computers. We're programmed to do the exact same thing. All of us. All of us is.
I believe in a sort of scientific fate. And this is another area where Cody probably disagrees with me. That's okay. But I honest distance is a very complicated series of cause and effect. And I've demonstrated this to people, at least not in the way that people treat it. I believe that within our own conception, free will. Yeah, there's free will. Within our own limitations, there's free will. But if you look at it like on a grand scale, not really. And if I do believe there is an algorithm you could develop out there in theory that if it was able to in real time take in all of the things that are happening, all of the context, all the things happening in your brain, chemistry, like all that, you could literally predict every single thing a person thinks, does, and will do, and has done. I do believe that could exist. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. I don't even know if our math is even capable of describing that at its current level.
Well, at our current level, definitely not. I would disagree. I do believe that there is free will.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I don't know too much about it to put up an adequate defense that I would be sufficient with.
I got you. And we should probably not get into that because that's like a long discussion.
That's a huge philosophical discussion.
Yes, it is. And I don't think that's going to get solved on this podcast. But to make sure that we're actually moving along at a somewhat reasonable clip, the Nevada Democrats vote no. Or they do vote yes on joining the compact to overturn the Electoral College. And the Democratic Governor, Steve Sisolak, said no, we veto.
Yeah. So I don't know how much everybody knows about the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact.
Yeah, Isaiah, are you familiar?
Yeah. I was actually very... I was doing some research on the Electoral College, probably 2 years ago, because... go ahead. I'll let you explain it. Then I go ahead.
Sure. Basically the Interstate Compact is a series of shockingly Democrat-run states that don't like the Electoral College and want to give all of their electoral votes to whoever wins the popular vote. I don't know what they're going to do if a Republican wins the popular vote, but
right. The national popular vote, because currently they give it to the popular vote within their state.
Yeah.
Or that's how most states are.
Well, that's the general idea. Or I think some states even break it down a little bit more, and it's which the districts all get their own.
Yeah, I think Maine and I think maybe Alaska are that way.
I think Texas does this too, actually, where each district gets its own elector, and they're all expected to vote the way their district votes.
That's how Pennsylvania does it.
Yeah. I think that makes sense personally, but
whoever, at least in Oregon, I think it's whoever wins the popular vote in Oregon gets all of our electors, but each county however many electors, I think we have 7 or something like that.
Yeah, I personally think it should be county by county, but yeah.
You get one for each number of representatives you have in the House and Senate.
This is actually one area where I would actually like to see the federal government actually come down and be like, look, we set up the Electoral College to protect the smaller counties from the bigger ones because it's protection from tyranny of the majority. You're not allowed to just say no to the Electoral College and not go county by county.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think this is somewhere where the federal government actually has a role because it's an agreement between the states, and traditionally any sort of
it's deciding the head of the federal executive branch.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense for the federal government to be
the federal government
works.
Can regulate interstate commerce, so why can't they regulate this sort of interstate compact? I mean, because you can't have say Oregon and California make a treaty with another country or make a an agreement between them to tax goods coming from, I don't know, Texas twice as much, just because they don't like Texas. Like, they don't allow that, but they'll allow this sort of thing to happen.
I think the reason why it's happening now is because Trump took office.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a reaction.
It's obvious that's why that
Trump's
happened, but like, I don't think they quite understand what they're putting into motion, because it basically means that all of these blue states, where at least some of the electors would normally go to the Democrat, because normally they want to go Democrat anyway. If it's a Republican that wins, they've just opened up a huge can of worms where they could be guaranteeing huge Democratic states, assuring a Republican victory by giving all of their votes to the Republican.
Right. If this goes into effect, because it doesn't go into effect until they reach the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. If this goes into effect, it'll be removed the first time a Republican wins the popular vote. And then everybody in California's electoral votes will go to the Republican. Because I tried to make that point. This isn't abolishing the Electoral College. It's sort of like a work around the Electoral College. And what would happen is, say, like in my state, Oregon, if you got 100% of the people who can vote for candidate A, but candidate B wins the popular vote, then all our electoral votes go to candidate A, regardless of what anybody in Oregon actually wanted. Like, that doesn't seem fair.
I also think that we should probably backtrack a little bit, because I think Isaiah was a little stunned that I actually like the Electoral College.
Yeah. No. I like the Electoral College.
Okay.
No. Let me put this in. I like the Electoral College when they stay out of it. You know what I mean? I don't like what they did with Trump. You know what I mean? And the reason why I don't, because the popular vote, I get what you guys are saying. In certain places, it's going to affect. So that's why I'm kind of in the middle with this law. But the popular vote, it had.
Look, all I'm saying is, like, unless the Republican states jump on board too, they're basically just saying these states that normally are deep blue, that would almost guaranteed go blue, now have a chance of flipping completely red.
And that's the reason why I don't like this law, but I think they should just get rid of the Electoral College. I like it, but because it saved us at one point, but it don't. So honestly, you need to get rid of that, because if the popular, go ahead.
Well, the reason, just to clarify why I like the Electoral College, the reason I appreciate the Electoral College is because we're in a situation where if it was just pure direct democracy, right? Because there's a lot of people that say, one man, one vote, and that's the way it should be. I get that sentiment, because I was there for a long time. But all I'm saying on that is there's a lot of districts around the country that have nothing in common with the big cities. And when you make it direct democracy, it turns it from, every county is important to at least a certain degree to, okay, so the only people we actually need to attract are New York, LA, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Chicago, exactly. I think, a few of the major cities. Like, they just need the top 10 major cities, and they've captured about 50% of the fucking population. And they don't have to go anywhere else.
LA County has a population that equals several states combined.
Yes. And that's an issue. And that's why I like the fact that, at the very least, it forces the federal government to actually pay attention to these smaller counties that they may not have as many people, but they're also, the places that don't have so many people, what's there? Factories, farms, shit we actually need. I don't, if we're talking about one man, one vote, I got to admit I'm more interested in the opinion of some farmer in the middle of nowhere that probably needs something specific versus some hipster sipping a latte in Starbucks. No offense to him, his vote counts too, but I care more about what the farmer is going through.
And see, this is why I'm torn with this, because I understand both sides. You know what I mean?
I get it.
But what Trump did is that he didn't win, and this is what people they're upset about. You know what I mean?
That's kind of the point of the Electoral College, isn't it? It's supposed to say to the majority that Well,
did win.
He did win, right?
I knew
Well,
you
no,
was gonna
but,
say that.
well, no, I get what Isaiah's saying though, like the popular vote, but that's kind of the point. It's not supposed to be that just whoever gets the most votes win. It's supposed to be whoever represents the most of the country. That's the whole.
Right.
That's the whole point.
But what is the use of voting if you're African American living in Pennsylvania, like me? Because
Sure.
if you look at it, you really don't count.
Individual,
We only 13% of
no.
the population.
My vote doesn't count in Oregon.
Well, I would actually. It really depends on where you are, because again, this is sort of a district. It's sort of a district by district thing, because most places that have like a large black vote, right? It's not as simple as saying 13%, because some counties are going to have more black people than others.
But what state has a large black vote?
I know Texas has a reason. Actually, a lot of the South does. A lot.
I was going to say the southern states, maybe
Yeah,
like
Georgia,
Louisiana.
I know, has a very strong black population.
Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia does.
Yeah, Georgia. I know Georgia does, but I don't think it's over 5. I don't think it's over 3.
Well, I mean, like I'd like to point out in most, whenever you talk about national elections, the black vote is something that comes up all the time. Like the black vote does matter. Like where they vote is sort of, because a lot of times there's a bit of a question mark on where the black vote's going to go. So it's a lot of time, honestly, when it comes to voting, if you want your vote to matter, it really does need to be a question mark. This is something I've been saying for a long time. I don't give a shit if you vote for Mickey. I don't give a shit if you vote for Mickey Mouse. Just get out there and actually put your name on the ballot and make sure that they know that you show up consistently, because that's how your vote matters. Whenever you look at constituencies, the reason that people look at a bunch of these politicians and say, that dude is fucking stupid. Like, that dude is fucking weird.
Something.
Well, just
your vote didn't matter now.
Hold on. Let me just finish.
Let
me just finish the thought. I know I talk a lot, but just let me just finish the thought. When you look at these constituencies and you look at weird people like Nancy Pelosi, right? Pretty much nobody likes her, but her constituency does. And the reason that she's okay is because she panders to her constituency. But the only people that actually matter in that bubble are the ones that vote. The people,
right? You don't have 100%.
Right. You do get represented if you vote, because that's if your vote if you go to vote, your vote does matter, because if there's enough people voting, there's always that threat of saying, I show up to the ballot consistently. If you don't give me what I want, I'm giving my vote to the other guy. If you don't want to do that, you better make me happy. That's how that, like, if you want your vote to matter, you need, like, especially for the minority communities, if all of them are consistently voting, or like, let's go crazy. Let's say 80%.
I think they're not, but go ahead.
But if you can, because I want like 90+% voting rate. That's what I want. I would love to see everyone voting, because then it's a giant threat to all the politicians, and they have to actually represent us. Because it's a threat. It seriously is. And that's how these populations gain reasonable amounts of political power within their districts. Because to me, that's where it should be, is within your district. That's where your influence should be, except when it comes to voting for the president.
Exactly. It's that vote for, but it matters where you live at and in your district. So like right now, let's talk about Trump.
Sure.
Your vote didn't count. Let's be real. Your vote did not count, because the popular vote won, but it didn't count. So I think that this is a hard time. Y'all right. I'm torn in the middle, and certain African Americans that understand certain things that happen, we vote for these men that don't do nothing for African American communities. So now it's like we have to hold our vote and be like, we want y'all to actually come here and do something, or we're not voting at all. Because I'm not going to just vote for anybody. That's not how it's going to work no more.
Well, I think that's what the black vote has been running into for a while, is the Democrats always promise them a shitload.
That's a positive.
And then nothing happens. Yeah, cool, because I think the black community does sort of need to put its foot down and be like, no, guys, we're not just voting for anyone with a D next to their name just because you promise us the right things. We want you to actually do something.
Yeah, just because you say nice stuff, I'm not going to vote for you.
Right. I think that's a perfectly healthy attitude to have. But do get out there and actually vote for someone. Just put your name on the voter roll.
Just because the candidate you voted for doesn't get elected, I don't think your vote doesn't matter.
I don't view that as a wasted vote. I honestly think a vote for Mickey Mouse is a perfectly valid vote because, again, it puts you on the voter rolls. You are a potential spoiler vote. That makes you dangerous, potentially. Because you have to remember that each vote, when it goes into the count, at some point, one of those votes is going to be the deciding vote. It's Schrodinger's vote. It's yours and not yours at the same time.
With the federal government, it's not supposed to be the government. I guess how to say this. It's the government elected by the states because each state has its own government essentially. So like the state of Oregon gets to vote for who is the executive of the federal government, and then each state gets a number of representatives, equal in the House and based on population in the Senate, and so it's kind of like they try to balance it out. It's not supposed to be, the federal government isn't supposed to be just everybody gets to vote and that person becomes president, because that's not what the role of the president is supposed to be. He's supposed to be the head of the federal government, which is supposed to kind of oversee the various governments, not oversee, but kind of, of the states. I just think I do understand like not feeling like your vote counts, especially like I get it because here in Oregon, whatever the city of Portland votes for, that's what we get. So everybody else votes basically don't matter, more or less. So the people in Eastern Oregon in the more rural areas that are always red, because they have less people, they don't get as much representation, and so they get left out of pretty much anything political unless it's at the county level. So I understand that feeling that your vote doesn't count, and it sucks because I vote Republican probably most of my life, even though I haven't been a Republican my whole life. And our votes always go to the we always elect Democrats. Like we haven't had a Republican governor in like 30 years.
Man, yeah, that's definitely moving into the way that your vote don't count. I would be upset because.
Well, yeah, it sucks, but I do think my vote does count because I still get a say. I may not get my way, but I still get to say what I think is right. And so I think that's how my vote counts, is because it does matter, and that people send, those stupid mailers that we all throw away, and there's ads targeted towards me. Like they want my vote. Like these votes do matter, and so my vote does matter. But especially on like the national level, when like it's just there's so many people that it's hard to see how your vote matters.
Yeah, at some point you do have to sort of like break it down. Also, voting county by county makes it a lot easier to actually. In some ways, it actually helps with prevention. It prevents fraud in a lot of ways. Because if you have like national voter rolls, you can just sort of tick those around a little bit, as opposed to going county by county and having to like manually fuck with all of them to actually determine the outcome. It is a form of defense in its own way. But honestly, if there's any change I would like to see, at least on the state level, it would be more proportional representation, as opposed to the first past the post system most places have right now, where, like you're saying, a Republican wants to vote in their state elections in a Democratic state. Well, fuck you. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and vice versa. I mean.
Well, yes, it goes both ways. And I would like to see some more states adopt the idea of proportional representation, where if there's a percentage of the Democratic, like have a committee, a percentage of the Democrats, whatever that percentage that is, give that percentage to Democratic representatives from, the DNC or whatever. Give the rest to the Republicans and go from there. So that you've actually got like some, like an actual reason for people to get out there and like feel like their vote matters. Because feeling like your vote matters does matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, because even though I honestly, I feel like people need to understand that either way your vote matters, but setting up some sort of system where it's obvious that your vote matters helps.
And I get that, but it's hard to tell somebody that their vote matters that haven't seen their vote matter.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to say. And I'm speaking to a young generation that I'm talking to, because I do a lot of work in the community. I'm out there trying to get people to vote, and it's hard for me to sway them into voting when they hit me with facts all the time. It's only 45 million African Americans, 13% of the population. Every time when we get together to vote for somebody, it's never going to work. Who we personally want is not going to work. You got the Latino caucus that really does work inside the community and that's why I keep saying on a local level, I'm seeing it work. I'm actually seeing us really change things with Democrats all over the country. I'm seeing little places pop up, especially those cities. I've seen it work. But when it comes to a federal level, I haven't seen it work yet. And I get what you guys are saying. Your vote do count. I'm not saying that it don't, but it's hard to make somebody see that they vote count.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like it counts.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
I think if anything, if you're like really interested in upping the voter rolls, I think that there are certain things, like there are some things I actually agree that I still agree with Bernie on. General voter registration is one of them, because I think this is something he's right on. I don't believe that I'm not personally with the whole conspiracy theory that the Republicans are trying to, get all the black people to not vote so all the Republicans win. I don't think that's true. I think that's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but I do believe that automatic registration makes sense. I believe that if you've got a social security number and like you're a citizen of the United States, you should have access to simplified voting processes.
Right. Well, for me,
because I want people to fucking vote.
So
I want them voting.
Here's how it works in Oregon. When you go in and get a driver's license, you automatically get registered to vote.
Yeah, it works that way in Alabama too.
Or
at least they give you the option.
Well, the problem, because there is some problems with it that would need to be addressed. The problem that we're going to have is they're also trying to make it legal for illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses.
Yeah,
and so
you can't have it both ways.
At some point, they're going to be registered to vote.
Yeah,
I do think I agree. I want as few impediments to citizens voting as possible. But I do think that there needs to be, the same with guns, there needs to be a reasonable, check to say, okay,
sure.
Are you here legally? Can you vote? And I don't want it to be you have to pass a test or you have to provide your birth certificate, just something like show your driver's license or something easy, or an ID card or something.
Birth certificate's not the worst one, at least not to get on the rolls in the first place, because I've really never understood the whole... this is something even back when I was a hardcore progressive, I never really understood the whole it's unreasonable to expect someone to go get registered to vote. It's you have 2 years to go do that, dude. Every 2 years there's an election. You don't have 1 day in 2 years to go take care of this.
Well, you can register to vote whenever.
Yeah, seriously. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't feel like it's really depressing the vote, but hey, maybe there's something I'm missing, where in some communities it's a real problem. But I'm just is there seriously places in the country I can go that I can't just go to the DMV and get most of this taken care of?
We can do it online.
I know there's a lot of places you can't, because I know in Alabama specific, because this is most of my experience with voter registration. In Alabama, you do actually have to go to the DMV. You can't do it online. You have to actually go in person to talk to someone to get the thing done, and then you can mail it in and get your the whole thing. But you do have to actually show up at the DMV at some point. And I get that people are saying that's prohibitive, but especially in the era of Lyft and Uber, take $20, get a Lyft there, get your shit taken care of, Lyft back, and go move on with your day. I don't understand.
If I had a friend who couldn't afford that, I would drive them there.
Yeah, seriously, talk to a friend. You can't. Again, you have a 2-year window. That's what blows my mind about this is people are being this is voter suppression. I don't get it.
They did this survey that I think it was 3 years ago.
Sure.
About Democrats thinking that African Americans don't know how to get an ID to vote, because they were saying this is voter suppression.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've heard that so many times, and I'm what? Do black people not have IDs? How do you get beer?
Democrats.
How do you go to the? Because I think a lot of times when you go to the movies, even Like sometimes they'll ask for your ID depending on where you're going and like what you're like depending on what like theater you're going to. They'll sometimes ask for your ID. Like if you go to one of the like if you go to like an Alamo Draft House, they might ask for your ID because they serve beer there.
Black people keep IDs. Like this is not like I don't know what Democrats talk about. Like we have to show ID. Like they want to see ID. Man, anything you buy a lighter, they want you to have ID. You buy spray paint, you want to like
yeah.
I don't get some of these Democrats. This is why I get very upset. And you know, I'm kind of like lean towards Democratic views, but I get very upset because Democrats believe that African Americans is idiots. Like, I really
they
seriously
think they're helpless. It seems like,
dude. I had this whole like I feel like about a year ago I had like this fucking revelation moment where I'm just like I finally sort of something clicked and I'm like, dude, the Democrats seriously think black people are fucking stupid.
One lady said they don't know how to work a computer.
Okay, that's not a that's not an issue with being black. That's like because you see this.
Look, I have a hard time with that. Okay,
I mean that's not like a black thing. That's a issue with the education system because this is not like you can go to a poor white community where like because there are some areas in because again so a lot of these things I've seen a lot of shit in Alabama. One of them
Alabama. I was about to say that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of shit in Alabama, and one of them was it was a trailer park where there was an open sewer running through the street. There was no running water.
Gross.
Yeah, seriously, this place was like a fucking third world country. It was disgusting. There was no running water. There was there was a latrine basically. That was the thing in the middle of the street. Like there was like a private spot you could go up the stream and you basically just shit into the stream. Like it was fucking it was fucking terrible. I guarantee you put a computer in front of any of these guys, they're gonna be like, what the Sam hell is this?
But that's why I think that, and I'm sorry to cut you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
That's why I think that a lot of white people, because I talk to a lot of white people in the South, I think they get so mad. I did a show about reparations.
Sure.
And I think they get so mad about how the African American speaks about poor because it's a lot of white people. It's more white people on welfare than it is African Americans. It's a lot of white people going through bad situations, and it seems like that America forgets about them. Mm-hmm. And this is what you start having this growing base that white people start feeling as though that everybody's coming over here, and then you got the middle class white people that's but you got the poor. It is poor white people in this country, and I tell everybody that they just don't believe it. But it is poor white people in this country that feel as though that it is very hard for them to get jobs, them to even get some type of food assistance. Like it's easy for us to get food assistance because we live in the cities, but some of these people live in back. I was down in Alabama. They didn't even have a phone. Like literally, like I'm not.
Yeah, some of these places are like 50 years behind the times, and it's not like because like most of the poor black communities that people talk about are in the cities. Most of them.
Exactly.
But when you're talking about like poor white people, they're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Well, yeah, poverty doesn't know nor care about your skin color.
Yeah, seriously, it doesn't give two shits. And like the poor black folks, don't get me wrong, like they have their own issues and they need help. But I'm just saying there are poor white people, and shutting them out because they're white, it doesn't make sense. How about we just focus on the poverty that will help the poor black people, that will help the poor white, that'll help poor people. How about we just help poor people?
Right. Let's just help poor people.
That's what I say. My show is I'm for helping poor people. I don't care I don't care what color you is. I'm for helping poor people because our issue is that poor people have to fight the upper class because these is the guys that's making us poor. Because most of the poor people does the most of the work. They do work hard. They got 2 and 3 jobs. This is all the stuff that you hear about them is not true. A lot of welfare, people that live on welfare in the city, you can't even be on welfare without having a job. So it depends on where you at. I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, people on welfare don't work. Most of those people that you're speaking on is not African Americans because if you live in the city, you have to work. Like this is one of the things to receive food assistance. Sometimes to receive your child support, from your spouse, you have to work. So it just depends on where are you at. And you just can't be I'm living in Philly or I'm living in Cali. This is how it goes all over the United States. That's not true. And I try to tell people that all the time. I travel a lot, though. It's not true.
Sure.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm not because like the welfare system set up to where if you actually start taking care of yourself and getting a job, they take away all your benefits, and so you end up with less.
That's actually that's something I ran into.
Disincentive for people to use those systems or to get off of those systems, rather, not to use them.
Well, it depends on because it ends up being it ends up
right.
being like it ends up being because again I did use some benefits when I was younger, like I think I was 21 when I was getting some benefits. Dude, I was working a basic job, like I was making $8 an hour. It was not impressive, but even in like even working that, because I was working that full time, my meager little paycheck, by the time it was done, I went to go talk about food stamps because I was also using a food bank at the time to help me just make ends meet. That was when I learned that the cheapest ingredient you can put into any dish is water, and I started making a lot of soup. Yeah,
that's all you make when you pour.
Yeah, seriously,
yeah,
soup is like the best shit you can. Like, if you're ever poor, learn how to make soup. Seriously, it will save you so much money. Seriously, but yeah, like I can only get like $50 of benefits a month. Like, again, there are some people that know the system inside and out and get like a ton of money out of it. But A, you have to know it really well.
Right.
B, honestly, a lot of times I feel like if they change around their real work situation, in other words, like above board, W-2, all that stuff, work situation, yeah, it does fuck with their benefits. And
yeah,
like you have to maintain a certain level, and then everything else has to be below board.
They get jobs off the books,
right?
So they
not
work
so
for cash or something,
or maybe some not so legal jobs.
Yeah, that too.
Like, I don't know how y'all is, but it depends on how much you make. So if you make anything over, like, I think it's 20,000 or 18,000, then they won't help you a year.
Yeah.
18,000? Yeah.
Well, it's a big gap too, because like if you manage below that, okay, we're going to help you, and it ends up like when you start totaling out the benefits, it ends up being like what is it, like 36,000 is what I heard, and I'm like, breaking that barrier between 20 to 36,000 takes a while. That takes some effort. That like breaking that initial barrier into to the lower middle class takes some work. That takes a long time.
I finally made it.
Yeah, seriously, like breaking into the lower middle class takes a while, and then you can build on that and it starts steamrolling. But getting there is hard. So yeah, it really fucks with them. It's a very large disincentive. Again, why I'm like I actually like UBI, because it frees people up. Like in my personal view is that I don't actually like Yang's particular proposal for UBI. I think it should be chained to a percentage, so it's like actually a dividend that's distributed monthly as opposed to just making it $1,000, because that's gonna like give it 10 years. $1,000 is gonna be something you wipe your ass with, but
maybe a little longer than 10 years.
Well, you get my point. Like, inflation's a thing. $1,000 is gonna be nothing.
It's going to be less than what it's worth now.
I would like to see.
I don't think it's going to be nothing.
I would personally rather see it change to 2% of the GDP, which I worked it out is almost $1,000. At 2% is what he's talking about. If we're talking about the general population, that's what I'd like to see. I hope he looks at the numbers more, because I think that would like form a better community. But anyway,
I think a lot of these things start in high school, man. If they had some class in high school to teach people how to save money, how to invest, what to go into. I think in high school, in China, man, that's why they'll tell you straight up, no, you're too stupid to be a doctor. You need to change it. Right. Straight up, man. Like, I think that's just how it should, because now we're making. I was talking to this girl yesterday. I was like, what you majoring in college? And she said something that wouldn't even count. Like, why are you trying to major in something that you're not gonna get a job? Like, but this is I think it's Generation X kids that we got now. They just out of their mind. I hate to say that, but this is this is the world that we handed them. You know what I mean? They really don't understand what's going on. They're like fish out of water, and it's if we look at how we're handling this situation right now, us as being, I don't know, I think you are whoever was 47 is the baby boomer, everybody else is millennium.
Sure.
So I think that me and you is millennium, the guy at 34. All the millenniums.
Oh yeah, we're all millennials. Like I'm at the back end.
Millennial.
I'm at the back end of millennial, and I'm 27. Like I think I'm about as old as you can be and still be millennial. Maybe 26.
Oh, you 27. I thought you said 47.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
No, it's like millennials are anyone born after 1980 and before 2000.
Yeah. I thought he said he was 47 years old though. That's why I called him baby boomer. No, okay.
No, I'm not a fucking boomer. I'm not a fucking boomer.
Well, they said the boomers was actually had it easy than anybody. But I want to ask y'all, I know we're about to leave or whatever, y'all about to wrap it up, but I want to ask y'all this quick question from me. What do y'all think about older males or older anything, men, women, running our generation, like president? Like these presidents are 71, 72. How do you feel about them being so old? Like, how do y'all feel about that? Do y'all feel it?
I think there are some issues that come with it, like being somewhat disconnected. But at the same time, like I'm trying to imagine someone younger. Because on the one hand, I look at someone like Ocasio-Cortez. I already see people being like, "President, make her president," and I'm like, "Oh my god,
I want
please.
her to be president."
Oh god, please don't make her president. At least not until she's older.
Socialism, yes.
Oh my god, no. She's like, if you want a socialist candidate, at least get someone that's smarter than her.
So, do y'all agree the government is a socialist situation?
I mean, I think it's the wrong way of phrasing it.
Oh wow, I never heard that.
I think that's just the wrong way of conceptualizing it. Because pretty much any level of like any formation of government, you technically could call as like a socialist institution. I think it's less about whether or not it's socialist and more about how socialist it is. Because technically speaking, anytime you socialize something, you could call it a socialist program. You could technically call roads a socialist program. You could call the post office a socialist program. And make a pretty good argument. Yeah, I think you can make a pretty good argument for that. I think it's less about whether or not it's socialism. It's whether or not it's how much it is and whether or not it's appropriate. I think police, totally fine. Roads, totally fine. Post office, but totally fine.
I think Elizabeth Warren's socialist situation is kind of like corporations. Like people at the top will not be able to make, a CEO making close to $1 million, but the manager that's doing the work is making $50K. I think that her situation is that she tries to make everybody that works for the company has a salary cap. You can't make over this much money, but I'm going to raise managers' pay to $100,000 and $200,000 because I just think that as what we get paid is not enough money. It's just not enough money, and at this point, if we don't have people that don't have no type of generational wealth, and what I mean by your mom even just giving you a house or your mom even just giving you $1,000. Like I had nobody to give me nothing. It was like, get out the house at 17. Oh, you still here? You know what I mean? It's that type of situation, and it's like you go out 17 and you are already in credit debt by 21 because you've been bouncing house to house. So it just depends on who you are. It depends on where you at and what do you vote for. I think a lot of stuff in East Coast and some of these big cities, man, we need socialist programs because we're getting dicked, man. We like a lot of these people, man, we're not making nothing to work at McDonald's, man.
See, this is also another reason why, personally, I would like to see the federal government have less to do. Because I totally agree that area by area, certain programs make more sense than in other areas. Like the idea, like for instance, like if you want to talk about something that's not technically socialist, but it's relevant, right? Like the idea of fight for 15. Like for the whole Bernie Sanders, we're going to make $15 an hour the standard. Okay. In LA, that makes perfect sense, right? in Montgomery,
Yeah.
Alabama, doesn't make as much sense. You don't like the living conditions in Alabama. Like you don't need as much money to do okay in Alabama as you do in LA. Like honestly, I don't even think 15's enough in LA. Seriously.
Even where I live, $15 is like I barely make more than that now.
Dude, $15 an hour where I live, you're doing okay.
I don't live like posh or super comfortably. Like
Yeah.
I still I have enough to pay all my bills, and maybe like at the end of the month, my wife and I have enough money to go out to eat maybe once.
Sure.
But it's not like I'm not like super struggling, but I'm not rich.
I think the
It's a nice
localities should have more power to institute these programs and like stop giving so much to the federal government. Broad social programs, I think in generalities, I think they just end up exploitable. Whereas, for instance, if we went into a small suburb and looked at this area over here and said, okay, these guys are having problems, what can we at the local level actually do? Because I guarantee you, if you started talking to the local communities and looking to the rich areas and being like, okay, so we need some, because you can actually, these areas could actually do this, where they just, instead of trying to steal the rich people's money, go and ask the rich people, hey, we want to set up this program, can you donate? Because, again, that's tax deductible. Hello. So a lot of times, if you talk to these rich people and say, we want to do this thing, it's tax deductible, so it's coming, like, this is something you would have had to do with anyway. Yeah, they're more likely to do it. Talk to I want to see it go down to the local level where people can address the problems in that area at their level.
Right. Well, I think the most effective way to make any sort of change or improvement, you have to get down smaller. Like the closer you get to the individual, the more effective things are going to be. So like if in my house, if I want to make a change, like the most effective thing would be to like change some behavior in myself or to change some part of my character. But if I want to make like a change in a broader sense, like the best way to do that would be in my local city or county. And then after that, my state, and then the federal government, and then, the UN or something, if you want to scale it up even that far. But I think the most effective way to make things better or at least less worse for people is to do it more locally. That way each individual has more control over what happens, because what's right for the people in the city where I live is not going to be right for the people in the city in southeastern Oregon with half the population and less tech.
Yes. And this is the issue that I see going on all over the world, because when you get to certain stops, like sometimes I'll be cruising. My brother is a truck driver, so I go with him. Or I used to be a truck driver before I lost my license. So I go with him. And I'll be cruising through these different cities, and I'm seeing, like, I'm asking minimum wage, or I'm asking questions, because I'm like a reporter everywhere I go. Sure. And I'm just starting to see, like, yo, everybody, okay, this city don't need socialism, but the next city that I left, they definitely need it. And it's like, this is what I mean by voting locally. That's why I tell all the kids that come to my house or go to my recreational center. I work at a recreational center. Yo, listen, you have to vote locally. Forget what's going on with president.
Right.
Forget Trump. Forget all that right now.
For the most part, Trump doesn't affect you, but your mayor does.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what... and
or your city councilman.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and some of them don't know who he is, but they'll tell you who Trump is. And I'm like, this is an issue. Like, you know what I mean? And this is like high class. I could be talking to somebody that I'm thinking in my head, somebody that's actually inside the government, and I say somebody's name, and they won't even know who this person is. And it's like, wow, you work for the government, though? Like, this is what you do? And it's like, it's alarming that we have these type of issues all over the world, man. But it's crazy, though. And
well, actually, Isaiah, like, let me run an idea by you, because this is not my idea, by the way. I'm totally stealing this from like a friend of mine that he talked to for a while at the last organization I was working with. It was basically a political bounty system, where you like in an area you would set up a bounty on some sort of website, where you say, for instance, let's say Flint, Michigan, right? And the community says, we are willing to put down, what's the population of Flint, right? Like 50,000 people, I think, something like that. And we're all going to put down $2. Well, just each of us is going to put down $2 if you fix our systems. If you fix our water within like a given time frame, that's $100,000 going straight into your pocket, Mr. Mayor. Right? Just fix our shit. Basically, the community working together to say, we want this. Here's how much we're willing to put forward. And if you do it, if you do what we want, if you represent us properly, we will pay you directly. Just do what we fucking want.
Well, the problem with something like that, sorry to cut you off, Isaiah, but the problem with something like that is that you would get people who have more money being able to get what they want just directly, essentially.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. You took the thunder out of it.
What do you mean?
You're right, though. You're right. Because people would just be like, well, I ain't fixing it but I think that we have an issue, and this is why I said the government need to get into it, because
I'm just
I don't
saying,
know if y'all ever...
the popular ideas would have more money behind them. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, sometimes, but the people with more money would be able to have less people and then be able to get what they want.
But it is worth considering that if you have that sort of system, you also have like a direct log of this person, who everybody can see this, this person took this bounty, who, like, let's say the Koch brothers, just to put in some boogeymen, let's say the Koch brothers and Soros both worked together for some fucking reason to take down Flint, Michigan's water, and said, no, Flint, right?
Okay.
We're George Soros and the Koch brothers combined, all the boogeymen. Right? Like, they put a shitload of money and say, you put up 100,000, 200,000, don't fix the pipes. Okay, well, now you've got a politician on record taking money from the Koch brothers and George Soros to not fix his constituents' water pipes. How do you think that's going to go down at the next election?
Well, I don't think they would say don't fix it. I think they would just say, well, here's something else you should do.
Sure, but what?
Because I don't think people would. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. Is that if it's all transparent, which
it's all effectively.
Government, let's be honest, it's probably not going to be.
It effectively becomes like public record, and I think my stream fucked up. Oh, here we go. Okay,
there it goes back.
But yeah, the point is, because this is actually a discussion I had with him, where it's like, wouldn't someone else just buy it out? And it's like, yeah, technically they could, but it would look really bad. And most politicians, I think, would rather go for, if the money is going to be good either way, I think most of them would rather go for clean money that's above board and say, I'm helping my constituents and that's why I'm getting rich. Like, that's a really good pitch to make to your constituents, where it's like, look, the reason I'm making a shitload of money as a politician is because I'm effective. It's because I'm good at my job and I give you what you want. Look at all these things I've done for the people. It's something that politicians can actually run on and say, look at all these bounties that I've completed.
Well, I don't think. Well, yeah, but I don't. My point is that I don't think that it would be somebody giving money to do something that people don't like. They would just give money to do other stuff because we all only have so much time.
I mean, sure, but if, like, a lot of times when we're talking about the leaders of these things, they're not mostly doing it themselves. They're delegating. So
right.
I mean, I know you only have so much time.
Time is finite.
I know you only have so much time, but it doesn't take that much time to look at someone else and be like, we need to fix the water pipes. I want to make a bunch of money. I'll give you a portion of it. Go fix it.
Isn't that just private industry at that point?
I mean, yes, but like I don't mind making the politicians rich if they're doing what I want them to do. Right? Like, if they're doing what the people want in their locality, I have no problem with them getting rich as fuck.
This just kind of feels like a bribe to me.
Yes, it is. It's a bribe from the public. It is a bribe. It is a bribe from the public.
Please,
I'm okay with the public being able, as a community, to bribe their politicians into doing what they want. I'm okay with that.
What's so wrong? And this is why I want to ask a lot of conservatives. What's so wrong with just having big government fix it? Because
they suck at everything. I'm not even conservative, and I recognize the government sucks at everything.
Yeah, like if big government could do it, sure, but I don't think that there's any incentive for them to do it efficiently, and so they're using all of our money And so they're just going to be like, well, you still want this. Like, I need more money. Also, I need to be elected again.
Isaiah, actually, let me make a comparison, because I'm actually kind of with you on this. If I thought the government would be as effective or more effective than private industry, I'd be totally fine. The problem is, like, when you look at private industry, like, let's say Walmart, for instance. Let's talk about Walmart for a second, who is a private industry. Compared to Amazon, they're fat and slow. And this happens whenever you build a company up, eventually you have to start centralizing, right? Mm-hmm. And the things that come below it start becoming building blocks as you go up. And at some point, it comes to a point where, like, the whole Amazon delivering things, Walmart had the money for that. They chose not to do it, even though they saw, like, what was happening and that they could have jumped on that, and now it's too late. And Walmart's being overtaken by Amazon. Because Walmart centralized, and now it's fat and slow. The government is one giant central pillar that is fat and slow at everything. Because it's all like having to fucking hang off. And I know it's like, imagine the government is like one giant tower where they can't really build at the base. It's already done. All they can really do is put out these weird little outposts, like, as the tower goes up, and hope that it doesn't fall. And that's usually what ends up happening, is it becomes slow and shitty. For instance, my father's government job. Are you familiar with how the military spends money?
Yes.
Yeah.
Liberal.
It's real bad.
Liberally.
It's real bad. And when you start talking about the contractors, like, there's an unwritten rule that basically says whatever budget this contract group is given inside the military, you have to spend every fucking dime, because if you don't, we're not giving you any money next year. Instead of it being, if you save money, we give you more money because you're responsible, we're only going to give you money if you're actively irresponsible.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up system. Like, I'm okay with the government doing things if they're efficient. But the problem is there's so many issues inherent to our government structure as it is right now that I don't trust them to do anything, because they suck at everything.
So,
we need to fix that first.
I'm going to be honest. I'm the type of guy that like to take it to the government. So why is we not taking that up with the government? Like, why are we arguing between each other, like, saying, like, not me and you, but
sure,
most of the people out there in the world, like, they're arguing the government shouldn't do that. The government should do that. And I always pose a question to, no, we pay taxes, we vote so the government can do it. Why do we don't? Listen, I was looking up a statistic that somebody else sent me. They said, yo, Isaiah, because they was asking where was reparations going to come from. And then I started looking up how much money do individual states lose? Like, they lose money. They can't track it. What happened to the money? They don't know. They lost it. This is outrageous that they can lose money and don't have to track. But this is a government issue. We should be taking this towards the government. I feel as though we should not say, yo, listen, they can't do nothing, whatever. We should say, no. Y'all need to fix this, or we're going to be out here every day marching or picketing. Nobody's not going to work. I think everybody would like that, too.
Like, if you're arguing for making the government more efficient, I'm totally on board. But if you ever want me on board with, like, advancing programs, like, first, before we can talk about any of that, there's so many issues inherent to how we structure things, to how things get spent, to how things get through red tape and go through bureaucracy. There's so many issues that we would need to fix first before I would even look at, okay, we need to add more programs. No, please don't. Please, if it's just going to work the same way as all these other shitty programs that don't work properly, please don't. Just please don't, until we can fix what we've got.
Yeah, you're right. You got to stop the leaks before you do anything. You're right. We gotta focus on fixing the government. I tell everyone, I'm like, yo, like, a lot of things that we have issues with, it all starts at the government. Mm-hmm. Like, how the government distribute money. Like, they do it like this money comes from nowhere. Like, but it's our taxpayer money. He's cutting into Medicaid. This is stuff that me, you, all of us on here is not going to have. We're not having Medicaid in the future. I know. We paying into something that we're never going to be able to use.
SSI too, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they're going to have to raise the SSI age, which I'm actually kind of on board for because we are living a lot longer. So it makes more sense. Because when they first designed it, it was like, if you make it past the point where we're expecting you to already be dead, now you get SSI. Congratulations.
America's a sweatshop, man. I'm telling y'all, man. I say this right now. I say this all the time. A lot of people get mad at me. I mean, like, when you hear that McDonald's could afford to pay somebody $20, but they don't because they don't want to mess up the economy. I get it, but I don't get it. And I understand where it comes from. You got to have the incentives for other people to work other places. But come on, you guys. If you can pay somebody $20 and it won't hurt you, they could pay the average worker $20 and it wouldn't even hurt them.
I think that comes back. I think that actually comes back to what I was talking about earlier when it comes to investment opportunities. If they actually moved it up that quickly, because I agree that they should be raising, and they kind of are over time. Like the Overton, this is kind of what I describe as the Overton window of wage, where like the federal minimum wage is, I still think, $7.25. It's been a long time since I've seen anyone actually trying to pay that. Because people know that, like, if you're living,
unless you're a housekeeper,
yeah, like unless you're illegal, you're not working for that money.
That's crazy.
Like you're not working. You're probably working for less than that. Which is sort of what I was talking about earlier with my ethical issues with allowing that kind of illegal immigration, because they often end up working for basically slave wages, and they just take that. Yeah. It's unacceptable. Like I don't like that. But anyway. There's like an Overton window of wage where it's like anything below a certain point, people start looking at you rightly as, what the fuck are you doing paying this bullshit money? Seriously. Especially if you're a big company. But if they try and move it up quickly, their growth stagnates for a little bit and all the investors dump. And then the growth goes negative. So, yeah, like these big corporations do have to be careful because they are sitting on a house of cards. If they start like jumping, because labor costs are one of the biggest costs for companies. So
the labor cost isn't just the wage either. It's like health insurance, benefits and stuff too.
Well, but I mean, like for instance,
that rarely gets factored in.
But for instance, if you took like all of the basic workers that are making less than $20 an hour, which includes managers in most cases, at these McDonald's, and raised them all to 20 at least. Which at that point you'd also have to have differentiation because managers need to make more than the basic workers, or why would you become a manager? Just go be a burger flipper. It's way less stress. Just saying.
And that's what everybody keeps saying. And everybody's like, Isaiah, this is what everybody knows.
But it fucks up like honestly, I have a feeling it has a lot more to do with the investors and the fact that if they actually tried to do that, it would fuck up their investments.
That's what I think. It has something to do with the big people that's on top that already has millions and millions, generations of wealth.
But you have to look at the big picture on these companies and realize that they do have fiduciary responsibilities, and their stockholders will call them to account if they actually try to do that.
I totally get that, and that's what, because a lot of these plans, I've rolled about the political people. A lot of them, they know me. Like I wrote, and they'd be like, "Yo, this is ridiculous," and I'm like, "Well, I'm a socialist guy, so you know what I'm coming with. It's already going to be ridiculous, but at the same time,
yeah, some way describing it. Okay,
yeah, it's going to be ridiculous, but it's going to put it. The poor people outweighs everyone in the world, and the poor work harder than the rich." And they don't have to do nothing. I'm done with poor people being poor. And there's no political way to say this.
I think it depends on who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think that's always true. I
think what he's looking at is like, because don't get me wrong, there's the trust fund babies that you're absolutely right. Yeah, they don't do a goddamn thing, and they never did. They didn't do a goddamn thing, and they never did, and they never will. But they also end up poor. Like that's something that's worth keeping in mind. Is most of those people that didn't have to work for their money end up in the poorhouse. That's the way it goes for like generations of wealth. The first generation that actually has it works their ass off for it. The second generation,
But we're talking about what's wealth. So go ahead.
Well, the wealthy families that existed in the 1900s or the early 20th century aren't the wealthy families that we have now. Like it changes over time. Like The Rockefellers
there are
like
some,
probably have a lot of money. Yeah, there's still some. There's still a few, but it's not always the same. Like we don't have the Tudors or anything like that.
Yeah, there are some old money families like because they figured out the formula to just stay rich forever. But those are also like we're talking like 1 or 2 families per country.
But that's what I'm saying. The issue is, you see what I'm saying? It's too many people. It's only 1 or 2 families that has all the wealth. People that I say will never. They work every day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? These people, all of us work every single day, and we are considered poor. If you stop working today, you're going to be poor. You got to go to work. And this is why I say that we have to stand up together against the people of the higher class that's making these, like you said, 2 and 3 families, 2 and 3 people that's owning Amazon CEOs and shareholders.
See, I think you're targeting the wrong people though, because when we're talking about the wealthy, there's basically 2 groups to look at, because there's the poor, right? There's the working, because there's like the welfare poor and then there's the working poor, and there is a worthwhile distinction there. The working poor are the ones that don't take any welfare and they just work their ass off and still probably make like $20,000 a year. There is the lower middle class, which basically doesn't fuck with anybody. They just do their job, and like you said, if you stop working for a week or 2, you're probably back in the poorhouse.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Right, still paycheck to paycheck, but you are middle class. There's the middle class, which is similar to the lower middle class, but they have a little more freedom. They've got flexibility. Then now you get to the upper middle class, which has a very similar working structure to the middle class, but they basically have no problems. Like once you're in like the $70,000 to $100,000 range, you're comfortable.
You have no problems.
You're comfortable. Now
you don't have money problems.
Right, you've got other problems, but you don't have money problems. You're doing fine. Now you start talking about people that are working that make more than that. And now you're talking about someone that's working like 80 hours a week, most likely. You're talking about someone that works a ridiculous amount. Now,
right,
then like from that point, like 100,000 to like $1 billion, until you get to like $1 billion, you're talking about someone that works 80 hours a week. And then you start looking at trust fund babies. Then you start looking at hedge fund managers that basically just bet on things to fail and then rake in the money. You know, people that just shuffle money around. And then you get to that point, okay, now we're talking about a group that's manipulating things and maybe needs to be pushed back on. But the only 2 groups that actually fuck with things is basically the upper middle class and the extremely wealthy.
Yeah. So let me tell you so I can clarify. I'm talking about people that make anything over $50,000 a year.
Sure.
So because poor inside America, I think it's $35,000, right? Or it's 28. Has they changed it, or is it 35? I think it's $35,000 a year is considered being poor in America. So I'm talking about
I think that's more like lower middle class.
Is that hourly wage or just wealth overall?
No,
because like I make less than $35,000 a year, but I own my own house. So
okay,
I
so
have
that's a different
that
conversation.
Asset. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a different conversation. I'm talking about making close to $30,000 a year, but not own enough, and you're renting. Because if you're renting and you're making $30,000, you're poor. You know, so
renting is hard, man.
Renting is one of the worst things. I mean, in the Bible it says don't rent, and I don't really believe in the Bible, but it says don't rent in the Bible. Don't rent from nobody. It will get you closer to the poor, and most of the poor rent. I'm just seeing an issue with people that, if you depends on where are you talking about and what's your demographic, but if you don't make over $30,000 a year, you're poor, and that's almost half of Americans. They say that almost 65% of Americans don't have $500 in their bank account. So I'm speaking to way of the majority of Americans than people think. Some people put on a suit and tie every day, but don't have $1 in their bank account. And it's like, yo, I'm speaking to more people than what we think we are.
To be fair, if we're talking about a suit and a tie, I have a feeling the problem with his bank account isn't his job, it's cocaine. I have a feeling he's got like a different set of problems.
Yeah, I think financial literacy also plays a part in poverty as well. Is that just some people don't know how to manage their money properly. Like,
well, a lot of
and
people
then some
don't
people
understand their taxes or investments, and those are two things
Right.
those are not optional skills. Those are
Well,
not
then
optional if you want to succeed.
you have people that, I mean, this is an anecdotal experience, but when I worked at a convenience store, I had a guy come in and he spent $50 on just junk food with his welfare card, with his food stamps. And I'm like, well, that's not really like effective management of your money, because like this junk food is over time just going to like cause health problems, and then you're not going to be able to afford those health problems because you can't afford food right now. And I'm glad that there's assistance for you, but you're not spending it effectively. And I know some people who they're just not good with money. Essentially, they go out to eat all the time, or as opposed to, you know, scrimping and saving. And like, there was a point in my life where my wife and I, she lost her job and was going to college, and I had to work 2 jobs, and we had to eat like beans and rice like every day. Like we had to struggle hard, you know, to get where we were. But some people just, they don't.
I bet you learned to make the shit out of some beans and rice.
Yeah, they don't know how to make those sacrifices. So I do think there's a financial literacy component to why some people, I'm not saying everybody, I'm not saying that everybody's that way, but that there are some people, and then there's some people that, yeah, like it does seem like the mobility to move upward it's just more difficult, because I think the mobility in America is greater than it is in just about every other country. There might be some that is a little better, but I do think it's pretty good. But I get a general feeling, and I'm not an expert or anything, but I get a general feeling that it is getting a little more difficult to have that mobility to move between, like you said, it's harder to move from that 20,000 to the 30,000 mark than it used to be in the past.
Well, I think some of it's to do with welfare in the way it's currently structured, because I do think that there's like an element of, if you offer all these benefits and like someone that's working within those benefits can work the system so that they're getting the full value, which I think was like 36,000, and you work under the table and you have your money from your side job that you use to maintain your benefits. And it ends up being like this person's making almost 60,000 a year if you like add it all up, as opposed to, let me go get a job at McDonald's and work my ass off and make like 20,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's like, of course they're not getting off the benefits. I wouldn't. Fuck that.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that really would.
Like, it's a stupid idea.
Well,
it's financially destructive. So how could anyone possibly rationalize that decision?
And then it helps people that been in bad situations. If you got kicked out, no, I see what you're saying. You stay in the same place, but just imagine if you haven't lived nowhere ever since you was 15, or you haven't lived nowhere ever since. If your mom and dad had a bad situation, and their mom and dad had a bad situation, then if you don't have no type of generation wealth, you're gonna find yourself on welfare. You're gonna find yourself not being able to eat in the house because nothing's not on. Your light's not on, your gas not on. So you gotta spend money outside of the house. You gotta buy junk food. You gotta buy McDonald's, because you don't have the only place. That's why when you come inside our neighborhoods, everybody's outside, because it's nothing in the house. The lights is off. The water is off. It's a different situation when you're coming from 17 and you're poor. You know, it's hard to rationalize when your mom and dad don't have money. This
Right.
is what I tell people that starts, but it's not a plea for help. It's just the government has to structure people that don't have generational wealth to help them at a young age. And I say it starts with schooling, because remember I said put in effect inside schools how to spend your money, what to do when you get out of school. A lot of these credit card companies, let them help people more than hurt people. Put in some type of situation, because you're going to have poor people. America is not set up for poor people. It's not set up for you to make one mistake, not make a mistake, but be put in a situation. You're a victim of circumstances. You put in a situation to make that mistake.
I feel like there's actually a small change they could make that would actually make a huge difference. like the way it's currently structured is that as your wealth increases from your normal job, your benefits go down. I honestly feel like up to a certain point that it should actually go up. Like as you're making more money in your job, they should actually raise your benefits, and then like past a certain point, lower it back down, so that there's actually an incentive to move to a point where you can actually get off the benefits.
Or if you're gonna put somebody in a house, how they got Section H houses, give them a sentence, rent to buy, give them a sentence. But when you live in an area where though from 1970s, we wasn't able to own a house. So when we was able to own a house, they was already brought up by white old men people. They not letting you buy no houses, especially where I live at. These is houses that they moms own. They moms own. So why would they let you buy this house? They gonna keep it in the family to rent. They make way more money renting out a house that they don't have no mortgage for than letting you buy the house. And this is how all of these houses is up. That's why when people say, oh, they tear up their communities, I'd be like, no, we tearing up y'all stuff because we don't own nothing around here. So when we get mad, we tearing up y'all because it is an incentive because of what happened. And it's not pointing a finger at this point on that. But what happened in America is incentives like people don't care. And I'm just giving it to you honestly, man. People don't care about, because I see what welfare does to America. It cripples America, especially how much money America puts out. The SNAP bill is in the SNAP bill is actually a part of the farming bill. So the food stamp bill comes out of the farming bill. So we see what happens, how it cripples America. But at the same time, we're not doing nothing to help. Nothing to help. And that's why I don't like Cory book about, he said, yo, if somebody have I think that this is going to end up terrible, but he was like, he's going to give everybody $1,000 for having a baby. It's crazy,
God.
but
Oh God.
I know it's somebody else.
Dude, I can already see the fucking quiverful people in fucking middle of Mississippi like, hell yeah, $1,000 a kid. I got 17 kids.
Yeah.
Cory Booker. I can see all the fucking rednecks in the middle of the woods being like, yeah.
No, you know who'd cash in on that is those who are they, the polygamist Mormon people.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Don't even get me started on the fucking Mormons. Dude, Cory Booker, like, if he actually put that forward, there are so many people in the middle of nowhere that have, like, 20 kids. They're going to be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was laughing when he said that. I said, this is never going, they're never going to, who's going to pass this? This is bad. Like, yo, stop selling people hope dreams, because this is never going to, man. But it's just, I really think the government should do a little bit more. I get what Republicans say because, every time we try to get government to do more, they always mess up.
Yeah, they suck hard.
As the Republican here, I guess, it's not that I oppose government. It's just that I want good government, essentially. And so I don't like you guys said, there's like so much waste like per state and in the military, and it's just, I want those things to be more efficient. And then if we could get our debt turned around and paid down, then yeah, I'd be fine. If things ran more efficiently and effectively and like actually helped people, like actually help them instead of trapping them in some sort of welfare scheme.
Dude, that's why I'm honestly saying, if we put more focus on pushing for the federal government to give up some of its power to the localities so that they can work with these programs and request money, like if they need it from the government, from the federal government, I honestly think localities can address these problems much more effectively.
Yeah,
the people should be dealing with their local governments because they do have more impact in their lives. But if I have no idea how much power these people need to have over their lives for people to give a shit about local government, because it's already a massive difference in how effective it is. Your mayor has way more to do with you than the president, seriously. But
you're right.
But for some reason, no one gives a shit who their mayor is. I don't get it.
Everybody's attention is on like the flashy, interesting, like.
I know, but your mayor actually affects you.
Yeah, Trump, Russia, Hillary Clinton.
But your mayor actually affects you.
Whatever.
Like
Yeah,
the
but
president's like an interesting thing to talk about, but your mayor actually fucking affects you.
Well, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know who. I don't know. Well, I don't live technically in a city. I live in unincorporated
Sure,
county
but
land.
I mean, but you have a mayor.
So I don't have a mayor, but
You don't have a mayor at all?
I have a county. We have a county commission,
Okay.
but I don't know who the commissioners are, and we have what is it? Not a district attorney, but we have a representative from our district.
Man, this Bryant guy in our chat is really is loving the stream. All right. I've been talking to him a little bit. He's into it.
That's my brother.
Is it? Okay.
Shout out to Brian, man.
Hey, man.
But yeah, like I know who our district who we've elected for our district level, but
Sure.
anyway, we're at like the 2.5 hour mark. So do you guys want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we probably should.
Yes, sir. I could talk all night about this stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
Right? Yeah, yeah, me too.
Man,
But
delay
my
is
wife
so
is
long
like,
here.
Yeah,
Where
that's
did you go?
that's what my girlfriend is. She's looking at me like,
Like, when are you guys gonna
Yeah.
fucking finish up?
yeah, when are you done? We need help.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you to our guest Isaiah for coming on and
Yeah, man,
sharing
thanks.
his perspective. I mean, I've had a lot of fun with this conversation.
Yeah,
I
me
feel
too.
Like it was
I
good.
did
and
too, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys.
No
we can
problem, man.
all disagree on things or whatnot, and still, have a good time. And so
Sure.
that's kind of what I'm realizing. The more I go through life, and the older I get, is that even if we disagree, I don't really care so much as long as you're a good person. And so
Oh yeah, we literally never talked about the shooting.
we could talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll have more information.
News is still
right?
coming out about.
We're going to be talking about the breaking news next week.
Yeah, there was
Yay.
a shooting in